Hola, Yuppie, everybody! How's everyone doing? Uppa. Ah. Oh dear, I forgot to. Forgot my setup for last stream. When I had Beatrice stomping on Jiren, let me place her over here, otherwise it's going to be not great for the others to read. Miss Kiki, stop! 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 She's. I start the stream immediately. My cat is trying to eat my milk rice. That's just rude. Okay, hold on. Oh, I can't make Jiren smaller than this. Alright, then it's going to stay like this. I'm doing great, and you? I'm doing okay. I had my last day of work today, and now I'm going to be on Christmas break, so finally some rest. Some much deserved rest. And also my mic volume still needs some fixing. Maybe for Christmas I'll get a pop protection or something. Okay, so today I'm doing Umineko episode 3, also known as Banquet of the Golden Witch. Last episode, in episode 2, I really liked the ending. Not gonna lie, the scene with Maria and Rosa, with like Rosa fighting all the goats, was pretty cool. Not gonna lie. That was some queen shit moment. And I'm still sad that they both had to die in the end. It looked like Rosa was going to actually make the effort to be a better mother. Like, not be the mother that she is then, but oh well. I can't have nice things, so we have like 8 more episodes of suffering or something, so I'm curious what we'll have in this episode, on which characters it will focus on. A question, PT is Portuguese? Yes, it is, and I just realized I forgot to change the title of the stream. Give me a second. I actually thought I did this before I went live, but apparently I didn't. This is one of the things that I constantly miss when I go live. So, done. It should be fixed now. Yeah, it is. We're good to go. Okay, so some other thoughts about the last chapter was that what was it again? Yeah, I absolutely love the mechanic of the red truth that was introduced, and I also love the absolute mercilessness in destroying Battler that Beatrice has. She's so horrible, but such a delight. I love her. She is truly the best girl. Alright, without further ado, I'm going to start with chapter 3, and also for those who are watching, either here live or on the VOD later, I'm still sticking with this mod in particular, because I looked up how to do the Umineko project mod yesterday, the one that's closer to the actual console port. And the modders prefer if the person who's using it to own a PS3 copy and a PC copy of the game, and I do not own a PS3 copy of the game, so I'm going to respect their wish, and I will refrain from using the project until I get a PS3 copy. Also, the installation instructions look so complicated. I'll leave it. So the decision for now is I'm going to stick to this mod, the easier one. For the rest of the question arcs and for the answer arcs, I'll see what I'll do. So, without further ado, Banquet of the Golden Witch time. I want to be invited. I want to have the dinner as well. And I don't, so long the banquet is not eating Maria. Ai papá, que legal. More like ai mamãe. Oh, this is a new setting. I didn't see this the last time. The vase was very beautiful, rich with history and value. Even as young as I was, it still forced me to take a deep breath when I witnessed its beauty. Of course, it was a member of grandfather's favorite collection, so that I didn't accidentally destroy its fragile beauty. I was always given strict orders never to touch it. But that just made me want to touch it. Yes, let's go, touch it! I wonder who that is. Sobre o que se trata o jogo? O jogo se trata de murder mystery. É uma visual novel, então, ou seja, não tem nada de gameplay aqui, é só uma história que você lê em visuais. E é sobre morte, assassinato, pessoas ricas sendo merda e bruxas matando essas pessoas ricas. E muita magia. E é muito legal. It looked right, and yet so elegant that just glancing at it gave it an indescribable sense of dignity. I wanted to see what it felt like to touch a vase like that. However, just as grandfather had said, it was a thing that shouldn't be touched. Something this beautiful should never be touched. Such beauty can only dwell in something so easily broken. Because of that, just a brush of a finger by someone like me would... Oh, so thanks for the follow. Obrigado pelo follow. I hope you enjoy your stay. And I hope you enjoy some rich people getting involved in murder mystery tonight. Just like how a fun dream disappears with a poof when you wake up, it disappeared, fell and broke into pieces. I realized that because of my own foolish curiosity, I had done something that couldn't be taken back. No matter how much I regretted it, no matter how much I apologized, the broken vase would not be returned to its original form. Grandfather will probably scold me, probably very harshly. I ended up breaking into tears and sobbing, frightened. That's bad parenting 101 if your parent makes you cry like that. As I did, I noticed something beautiful. Lightly dancing golden butterflies were coming towards me. Oh, is Beatrice showing up already? Let's go. Yes. As mysteriously glowing golden dots shone in the air, the butterflies began to gather one at a time. Oh, it's Beatrice. Beatrice, that reliable golden witch has arrived. Yes, my queen. She's my queen. I love her. Wait. Excuse me? This Beatrice looks different if that is Beatrice. The butterflies kept gathering until they formed a cloud, and then she was there. Who are you? She was always there for me. Whenever I was in trouble, she'd always appear and save me. Is this a different voice actress? Who are you? I wonder if this is a young Rosa. Considering what was revealed in the previous chapter, that Rosa was the most abused person in the family. I mean, before she had Maria. That sounds kind of different. Who is she? If it's not Rosa, I wonder if it's Eva, or maybe is it a younger Jessica? Oh, so this is a Beatrice, okay. I don't believe this is the same Beatrice. I think this is just a Beatrice. Or maybe it is the previous Beatrice, who knows? Grandfather was a very frightening person. And when you failed to follow something he said even once, he would become so mad with a rage that would even the fallen angels in hell quiver. Damn. Since I knew that down to my bones, I couldn't do anything but tremble and cry.
こぼしてしまった姫様の涙を救う魔法は持ち合わせておりませんが。
Okay.
本当？姫様が私の力をお信じくださればでございます。魔法の力の根源は信じる力。
I really like this type of games. They are really comfy to play. Yes, I agree. I really love visual novels because you can just sit back and basically read a book, but less boring. Okay, no offense. Books aren't boring by default. It's just that most German books I've been given are boring, but there are good books, such as Witches of the North. Wink, wink.
信じる。ベアトリーチェの魔法を信じます。だからこの壺を直してください。お願いします。
姫様がそれをお望みでしたら、それではこのベアトリーチェにお任せを。
Visual novels are more my thing to read, mostly because music and voice acting is just that much more vital to my enjoyment. Like, it's not even the pictures. I can be entirely content with just sound novels, which is like just background, text, and sound. Usually the story is more effective to me that way, purely because of the sound. Oh, sorry! I skipped on accident. Lucas Manuel BLM, thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoy your stay. When she extended her index finger, a golden butterfly softly landed there and changed its form into her favorite cane. But even that was enough to give me a small glimpse at Beatrice's wonderful and awesome magic power. She pointed her cane at the broken vase, and just like a child's lullaby, she began speaking the magic words.
さあさあ、目を閉じてごらんなさい。そして思い出してごらんなさい。あなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。それはきっととてもとても美しい姿。どうか私にあの姿をもう一度見せておくれ。
I wonder if this is really Beatrice. She sounds so nice here. It just makes me believe it's a different character who just happens to bear the name Beatrice. Maybe it's a generational thing? That more people can bear the name Beatrice? After all, can't you see? The pieces of the vase are rapidly gathering together, gently returning to the place where they've been on display, reassembling into their original form.
すごい。
ほら。
Sim, o mesmo som importa muito mais pra mim. Pra mim também, eu posso dizer, é a mesma coisa com mangá. Por exemplo, quando eu leio mangá, eu não choro. Só eu chorei em um, que foi Silent Voice. E acho que uma vez em Shaman King. Mas, por exemplo, de One Piece, eu li o mangá e tô assistindo o anime. No manga eu não choro. No anime eu chorei que nem bebê. Só por causa do som e das vozes.
これで元通りですよ。これでお館様にお叱りを受けずに済みますね。
É isso mesmo, concordo. Se as minhas histórias têm som, e música, e voz, é tudo que eu preciso. Imagina, só música chega. Yes, she can fix broken vases like it's nothing. She can also give you a very interesting banquet, you know.
壊れてしまったものを元に戻すのはとてもとても難しいことです。私の魔法は一時それを思い出させるだけに過ぎませんよ。
Oh, so it's only temporary.
壺はちゃんと元通りになったよ。
そうですね。ですがそれは壺が壊れたという運命を回避させたわけではありません。
Oh, interesting.
壊れた壺に一時壊れる前の姿を思い出させるだけに過ぎません。
So basically, she just rewind the time for a short period of time. That's an interesting power.
修復するほどの魔力はこのベアトリーチェにも未だ至らぬ遥かな高みなのです。
Oh, I wonder if this is a young Beatrice learning how to use magic. At that time, the high-pitched scream of a servant could be heard from inside the mansion. When I went to see what had happened, I noticed that several of the servants had gathered and were cleaning up the remains of the broken vase. Damn, you really shoved it to the servants. They already get enough crap as is. From what they said, it seemed the black cat had sneaked in from somewhere and had climbed up on the vase, causing it to break. Oh, thanks, Bern. Much appreciated. Just the thought of Rika or Birkenstell just turning into a cat and then walking up to vase and doing the cat thing, like the standard cat thing, and just tossing it down, just to spite the servants. I understood the meaning of the Beatrice's words. At the moment I broke the vase was broken. Beatrice let me see the vase being restored, but that was a temporary thing. It didn't mean she changed the fate of the vase being broken. And so the vase remembered its true fate and broke. Damn! However, the one who broke it wasn't me, but a cat that had snuck in. Yes? Thanks! That's right. Beatrice never said, let's fix the vase. She said she'd prevent the master from scolding me. The fate of the vase breaking hasn't changed, but the fact that I broke it certainly has. Beatrice cleverly saved me from danger with that magic.
物を壊すことはとても容易なことです。姫様が壺を割るのに魔法を必要としなかったように。
直すことはとても難しいこと？
Yes.
はい。姫様が途方に暮れて泣き出してしまうほどに。
魔法というのは恐ろしいことをするときの方がたやすいの？
I wonder if this is going to be a metaphor for the grand scheme of many themes that Umineko brings up, such as the scars of abuse and the like. Or the scars of trauma, like with the constant murders that keep happening.
そうですね。魔法は殺めたり壊したりすることの方がとても簡単です。
Tipo, esse tempo atrás eu estava jogando Life is Strange e o som daquele jogo é incrível, eu chorei muito jogando. Eu não joguei Life is Strange ainda, mas eu sei que é um jogo bom que... It has the feels. Life is Strange has the feels from what I hear.
本当の魔法の修行を怠ってしまいます。本当の魔法とは治す力、蘇らせる力。
Nelofi.
散ってしまった幸せを呼び戻し、冷めてしまった愛をも呼び戻す。
You can't eat my milk rice.
そして微笑を忘れてしまった姫様の顔に笑顔を呼び戻せるのですよ。
For everyone who's new to the stream here, my cat is a constant guest to the stream because she keeps trying to have my snacks. That's why there's a small cat in the corner.
なら、壺を直すことができたベアトリーチェはすごい魔女ということ？
She is indeed an incredible witch. I agree. If it's the same Beatrice, I must agree.
私などまだまだ修行の日々ですよ。
Now, days of training.
壺が割れるという運命を私の魔法ではほんの1時間も忘れさせることができなかったのですから。私に魔法を教えてくれたお師匠様ならきっと壺を元の姿に蘇らせることができたでしょうね。
Okay.
壊れても壊れても何度でも何度でも直せる。
So her teacher, I wonder if this person is the actual Beatrice we know, and this is like Beatrice II or something.
その境地に達した時、無限の魔力が備わるでしょう。それこそが 魔女の達するべき無限の境地。私たち
Do
は
we
そ
have
の
an
魔
endless
女
witch
を
yet? What
最大の
was the
敬いを持って
Beatrice? She was
こう
just a
呼びます。
golden witch, right?
無限の魔女。
そうです。無限に治す力を持つ魔女にとって壊れるという概念はもはや存在しない。失うというすべての悲しみから解放され、永遠の至福を約束されるのです。
I want to be a witch. Certainly, the human world is full of sadness caused by separation and loss. To escape that sadness, people pray to gods and ask for the power to withstand their sadness, believing it to be a test. In other words, a human's life is a journey, searching for a way to withstand sadness. In that case, a witch who could revive all things would be freed from all sadness in the world. Simply put, that would mean eternal bliss.
私も
God, I wish that were me.
ベアトリーチェみたいな魔女になって永遠に幸せになれるかな。
姫様がですか？それは長い大変な修行となりますよ。
私魔女になりたい。幸せになりたい。
Oh,
ベアトリーチェの弟子になりたい。
そのお気持ちにいささかの揺らぎもありませんか？
はい、私も魔女になりたいです。
Oh boy.
わかりました。では姫様がお湧きになるまで私の弟子にして差し上げましょう。私のことをお師匠様と呼べますか？
Let's go. New witch.
お師匠様。
Who is it?
良い返事ですね。ではこれからは私と一緒に魔法の深淵を学んでいきましょう。私とって修行の身。共に魔法を正しく学び、至福の境地を目指して頑張りましょう。
はい、お師匠様。
Huh. I have many thoughts already. What this could mean. Oh, there she is! Smooth Queen! Beatrice! I need to have a chat comment someday to be like, Beatrice!
夢。
Oh! Oh, I wonder.
懐かしい顔だ。
Oh, wait a minute. Was that a young Beatrice? Huh. That rank I'd yearned for in the past as the highest possible achievement was now just another one of my titles. No, you might even call it my calling card. Oh, wow.
たまにはその呼び名に充足を感じるのも長き修行の日々の果てに得たものではないか。たまにはありがたみを感じねば少々もったいないというものよ。
She shook her head lightly. If it's the highest possible level, that means there's nothing higher. An eternal dead end, the beginning of eternal boredom.
お師匠様は言っていたな。すべての悲しみから解き放たれることが、すなわち永遠の至福だと。
Oh wow, so that was a flashback to a younger Beatrice, I guess. I like that, if that's the case.
お師匠様はその域に至れなかった。
Don't be rude to your teacher. Eternal bliss means eternal boredom, and that's the beginning of eternal torture. But it all depends how you look at it. Eternal boredom is the same as a sketchbook that doesn't run out of pages. It means you can draw whatever you want, can try to have as much fun as you want. Boredom is the worst sort of poison, which kills all witches. Even those great witches who are given the title Lady fear it. It's the eternal poison that tortures them because of the eternal bliss they've reached.
無限の魔女の名を得た今だからこそ、 再びお師匠様と語らいたいものよ。
What happened to her?
我らの修行の果てにあったのは本当に幸せだったのか。そして本当の幸せとは何なのか。今こそ語り合いたいものよ。
Training has no end. When you think you've reached the eternal level, that's exactly the time to bemoan your own immaturity. I recalled those words as though she'd answer me directly. Relatable. Being bored is the worst. I agree! That is indeed relatable.
なるほど。わらわは未熟か。それはよい、それはよい。
The sound of painfully shrill laughter rang out. This was coming from my furniture. What did they break their toy again?
ベアトリーチェ様、
Oh! I've seen you before!
こいつまた動かなくなっちゃいました。まだ私全然遊び足りないのに。
Oh, you're new. I haven't seen you before. Or wait, did we?
情けない男。
There's so many of them.
私なんか全然遊んでないのに。
Okay, I haven't seen her yet, and she's cute.
私にも遊ばせて遊ばせて。お黙りなさいクイズどもが。
We've seen her. She looks
お前
she
た
looks
ちが飢え
cool.
た犬みたいにがっつくから。いくらベアトリーチェ様が直してもすぐ壊しちゃうのよ。
Don't tell me they're eating Bachelor.
壊してるよ。加減を知らないから。
Belphegor is also one I haven't seen before.
申し訳ございませんベアトリーチェ様。
Excuse me? Ma'am? Your phone number,
グマイ
please?
どもどうかお許しください。
Oh my god, hello. I like her look, and she sniped me. Ma'am?
次は私、次は私。
静かにせぬかやかましい。
Yes, let's go. A single yell was all it took to make the noisy Sisters of the Seven Stakes vanish. All they do is mess around, having as much fun as they want breaking him. Him? Battler? Again? They only come to me to clean up afterwards. Truly, this furniture never leaves me bored. Once the furniture hid themselves, all that remained was a sloppy mess, the last remnants of a broken toy. It had no form anymore.
このざまでは、わらわとて元の姿を思い出すのも難しい。
Who are we talking
思い
about?
出させるのが一番。
Didn't we establish in the last chapter that Battler regained his will to fight? I waved my golden pipe, or is it canon? Then I waved my golden pipe. Then I spoke. I chanted. I made it remember.
さあさあ、思い出してごらんなさい。あなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。何しろわらわには、今のそなたは肉の残骸の山にしか見えぬのでな。
Shush!
どれが
Easy!
腕やら足やら、見当もつかぬ。そなたが思い出してくれなければ、わらわにはそなたの面影も思い出せる。
See, this is why we need pictures. Photos. Didn't take enough selfies. By the power of magic, the pitiful pieces of meat began to remember what their form had been. Which part should go which part? And where should join where? Sounds kind of gross. That's right, just like that. No. You should be a finger on the left hand. That's right hand. That's it. Good. Cackle.
おは
Battler?
い、目が覚めたか。後ろ見やバトラー。
It was Battler.
もっとも目が覚めた方が悪夢の中とは実に皮肉な話だがな。
I love how he just wakes up in the last chapter at the last moment, super motivated, and just starts causing a racket during Beatrice's dinner, and now he's like just piles of flesh. Never change, Battler.
わらわを魔女と認めさえすれば、 すぐにそなたの悪夢を覚まし天国へいざなってやろうぞ。わらわこそは煉獄山の王。わらわの許しな
Mount Purgatory.
この地獄より抜け出す方法はないのだ。
この程度で地獄かよ。ダメだな。
Jeez.
ああ、全然ダメだぜ。
Alright.
人ならば一度しか味わわずに済む死の苦しみを、もう両手の指では数えきれぬほど与えられたというのに。
How much time has passed since the last episode and now?
だからこそ飽きぬ。そなたには飽きぬのよ。
ああ、全然飽きねえぜ。何しろ太ももの眩しいバインバインの姉ちゃんたちがよりどりみどりのハーレム状態なんだからよ。
Jesus Christ.
おかげさまでまるで退屈しねえぜ。
This man is being kept alive by the power of his thirsting. Of the power of his nastiness, the realness. I would say the S word, but I don't want to get clapped by Twitch, you see.
それはよかった。そうでなくては。
Kept alive by the power of horny. Thank you, Third Shot. That was the best way to describe it.
それ、家具ども、直してやったぞ。また存分に遊ぶがよい。
ありがとうございます。私がいただき。
And all you can think about is just, hell yeah, kill me again.
だからあんたは終わりよ終わり。
Are we sure?
私なの。
Are we sure Battler is not into Eroguro or something?
どきなさいよ。
Hell yeah, slay me. The power of horny keeps me alive.
モテモテじゃない。
モテる男は辛いぜ。畜生ども。順番に並びやがったんだ。
I want to get killed by you one by one, he
女性
says.
など張らずに素直になればもっと楽になれるのに。
いいのよこれで。その
I know I said last episode I'm not gonna kink shame anyone, especially not Beatrice, but I'm gonna kink shame Battler.
さあ、今度は簡単に壊すんじゃないわよ。いいわね。返事は？あんたが仕切るんじゃないわよ。
Milady.
さあ、バトラー。
Move out of the way, Battler. I'm taking Lucifer.
の続きよ。マスターキーでジェシカちゃんの部屋を施錠した後、どうやって室内の死体のポケットに鍵を戻したというの？
Move, Battler. My turn. No church can purify this sin,
そう。
so I might as well just go all
ツイー
in.
トか何かを使って鍵だけを扉の隙間から室内に戻して。
甘いな。六軒島に存在するすべての扉は鍵が通り抜けられる隙間などない。
Oh, are you kidding me? They don't even like straight up kill him. At first, they just say like your solution to the murder mystery is stupid, and then kill him.
外れたね、外れたね。さあ、今度は私の番なのよ。どこを貫いちゃおうかな。
私手の甲。
Okay.
ずるい。じゃあ反対の手の甲。
We won't kill you. First we make you feel dumb and then we kill you. Indeed, that's the best way.
私は花の頭をもらっちゃおっと。
The tip of the nose. Okay, Lucifer, I didn't know you had a thing for noses.
なんで私にもやらせて。私にも貫かせて。
Okay, but who's gonna strike the eggplant, if you will?
レビアネーはとろいのよ。いつだって私たちは早い者勝ちでしょうが。 じゃあ私は足の甲をいただいちゃおっと。
Okay, so Satan is a foot fetishist. Got it.
私は肩をもらっちゃうからいいもん。
Okay.
姉妹なんだろ。仲良くしやがるってんだ。
Jesus Lord. With his shoulders. Damn, we're getting kinky here. Yeah, we are. Bator, get a room.
ほう、よくも耐えるものだな。お前のその痩せ我慢がむしろ私たちを楽しませているだけだとなぜ気づかない。
Damn.
あいにくだな。痩せ我慢と肘の張り合いは。
I guess Bator is a power bottom.
お前らがどう俺を
He's a
蹴りまくろう
strobe.
とも俺は絶対に魔女も魔法も認めねえ。
人間とトリックで何も説明できないくせにバッカじゃないの。この身の程知らずが。いいのよ、無理に認めさせなくても。
I love how Bator is like, I will never accept witches and magic. And on the last episode, he lets Beatrice take him around like a dog, naked and in a leash chain. And I'm like, sir, are you sure?
今泣きながら認めたくなるわ。
I think he's just in denial at this point.
本当は哀れに土下座しながら許しを請いたいくせに。
I don't have tissues, and I won't give them any.
もう壊しちゃった。ベアトリーチェ様。
やれやれ。
Back to being a portal.
わらわがいくらでも蘇らせられることを知っている。
Back to being a pile of flesh.
角度困ったものよ。
Giving eternal rebirth and eternal death at will. Before the endless witch Beatrice, all death and life has no meaning. Even death can become the key to escape from my cage.
さあバトラー、再び元の姿を思い出すがいい。何度でももてあそんでやるぞ。
I'm just imagining Bator coming back in just a completely glitched out form.
なるほどなるほど。永久に遊べる玩具とは実に愉快よ。
But you're not even playing with him!
なるほどな。これが無限の境地に至った魔女が得る至福の境地とやらなのか。なるほどなるほど。これは確かに愉快で至福だ。何度でも蘇らせてやる。何度でも殺してやる。さて、次なるゲーム版ではどのような殺人劇を繰り広げよう。
Were you just killing him while preparing the next game board?
新しいゲ
Damn.
ーム版を持て。次なるゲームを始めようではないか。後ろ宮バト。
Oops. The sound cut off on accident. That sounded like Ushinomiya bad. Okay, so is this the same opening as last time? Let's go, OP! Let's go! Okay, the song is at least the same one as last time. But I wonder if the visuals will be the same. Okay, they are the same. I assume this is then the opening for all of the question arcs. But we're just thinking about, when am I gonna get stabbed again? Oh. Maybe I should ask if they can stab my knee next time. Oh, I'm super curious what this chapter will be about. So what we had so far is that in episode 1, we mostly focused on Battler and like was more like an overall POV. While for episode 2, our POV characters were more or less canon, Shannon and Rosa, right? So I wonder what POV characters will be in this chapter. Maybe each chapter will focus on a specific family. Ah, yeah, the good Rudolph. Who was Aneki again? I think it was Eva, right. Pretty grumpy. What happened? Rudolph and Hideyoshi went out onto the deck and took out some cigarettes. Eva had always hated to smell cigarettes, but when she was in a bad mood, she got even more sensitive to them. When they decided to smoke casually until they reached the island, the two of them had gotten yelled at and chased out onto the deck. Hideyoshi tried to use his lighter, but the strong winds gave him some trouble. Rudolph took out the Zippo with a smooth gesture and let Hideyoshi borrow the flame. Ah yes, these smooth gestures! Look at the form of his back. When did you start smoking cigarettes? I have no fucking clue. After the war. Mm-hmm.
自分の売り物に手をつけてしまったわけや。
じゃあ姉貴と会った時にはもう吸ってたわけだ。姉貴には随分やめろやめろと言われたでしょう。
Probably.
わしが聞く耳持たんもんだから、あれももうすっかり諦めよった。やはり男は強情でなくてはあかんな。
For cigarettes? I mean, okay, I can respect that. Hideyoshi laughed heartily, but Rudolph snickered. After being scolded by Eva, they'd escaped to the deck together with their tails between their legs. There was little doubt who had gotten her away in that exchange. Sorry.
普段はそこまで短気じゃないんや。
Are you sure? Sorry about that.
いや、普段はもっと温和なおとなしい女なんやで。
Yeah, but for that she masters passive aggressiveness.
毎年毎年この日になると人が変わりよるんや。
そうなんですか？
そうや。後ろ宮家のエヴァに戻るんや。
Mm-hmm.
でも、
The sassy one?
わしと一緒のエヴァとは違うんや。
Oh, okay.
カリカリする気持ちもわかります。
I do remember she's way softer when she's with Hideyoshi alone.
面倒だ。
そうやな。あのクラウス兄さんから金を脅し取ろうっちゅう計画や。
Ah, yes, the usual money exploitation tactic.
これはただの兄弟喧嘩や。
I like how the people who are married to the Ushiramiyas are like, oh god, not this shit again, every time. Before the family conference, 3 of the siblings had made a secret pact without Kraus. They were all facing urgent situation and needed a lot of money fast. And the only one they could turn to was Kraus. The good Klaus, who spoke for the Ushiromiya head now that Kinzo spent his time shut up in his study. For a long time now, they vaguely sensed that Kraus was taking advantage of the fact that Kinzo had lost interest in his own wealth, and they suspected that he'd start embezzling that wealth to suit his own purposes. Despite being disgusted by this, they turned a blind eye to it while everything was still going smoothly for them. But now that they needed money, they really couldn't afford to let it slide. Eva had asked Rudolph and Rosa to form an alliance, and they were now scheming to take that money away from Kraus. It's always about the money! It's my money and I need it now!
社員の生活を背負っとる身や。
It's always about the money, money, money!
ま、道楽ですね。
そうやな、失礼。つまり、わしらは誰もが背負うものを持っとるっちゅうことや。
俺も幹部連中の前で単価を切った以上、土下座しても泥をすすってでも金を引っ張ってこなきゃならない。
That's intense.
お互い様や。 わしもわしを信じてついてきてくれた社員たちを裏切れ。それこそクラウス兄さんの首根っこをひっつかんででも金を
Holy
引っ張り出さんといかんのや。
Holy shit! Let's
兄貴
go!
は昔っから兄貴とは犬猿だ。その兄貴と全面対決しなくちゃならねえんだから、そりゃカリカリもするだろうよ。
やっぱりエヴァはクラウス兄さんとは昔から仲が悪かったんか？
It's okay, Hideyoshi. Now you can give her 2 helping hands to go at his neck.
本人話しませんか？そりゃもう盛大に。
昔の話は聞いても話してくれんのや。
Probably because it sucked.
思い出したい話がないんやろな。
姉貴は昔っから容量も良くて頭が良かった。成績も良かった。それに比べ兄貴は盆栽だった。
Damn.
ただそばにいるだけでも十分にプレッシャーだったろうに。兄貴はわざわざそれを誇示して兄貴を追い詰めていた。
アホやな。なんでそない敵外心むき出しで追い詰めるんや。
I don't know, because she wanted to be the next family head?
容量がいいとは言わん。
確かに兄貴は女に生まれたことを悔やんでた。だから男というだけの理由で当主を継ぐことが決まっている兄貴が多分許せなかったんだ。
Man, that's rough.
だからことあるごとに自分の方が優秀であると親父に誇示していた。
お父さんは古いタイプのお人や。
And apparently sexist.
男女には差別的な価値観を持っとった。自己顕示の強いエヴァは少々嫌われてたんとちゃうか？
Damn. Toss him into the trash. In this house we respect women.
女の学力は紅茶の砂糖にも似ていると思わないかね。ないのも味気ないが、過ぎれば紅茶の味わいを大いに損なう。
Since you can still drink black tea without sugar, he was in effect saying that there was no need for women to study. Toss him in the trash too! Perish! Those infuriating words were what Nisan hurled at me in my despair, when I asked to go to college only to be denied by father. I protested that I needed to build up proper dignity and an education as the oldest daughter in the Shiromiya family, making college an essential next step. Oh, is this gonna be an Eva POV chapter? Let's go! But when it came down to it, father's and Nisan's answers were exactly the same. How conceited for a woman. I've never taken the Ushiromiya name lightly, not once since I was born into it. And I've been even more careful not to take my father's name, Ushiromiya Kinzo, lightly. Our family is an old one, with many traditions, but it lost its wealth and business in the Great Kanto earthquake, pushing it to the brink at one point. That was when father took control with his ingenious talent, reviving it to be even greater than it had been before. Not once did I forget that I was the daughter of that great Ushiromiya Kinzo. That's why I always made every effort to become worthy of that name. I needed dignity worthy of the Ushiromiya family, schooling, manners, and leadership. Even if I couldn't quite reach father's level, I deepened my knowledge in economics and finance, trying to improve myself so I could be of use to him at any time. However, in the end, father never could acknowledge my efforts. To a father, a woman was only meant to support a man, and nothing further than that was permissible. In the trash you go! When was it that I came to understand that? It may have been as early as my childhood years. But I was going to have to wait until I grew up before I could truly accept it. Man, 70s and 80s really suck for women, huh? Compared to me, you couldn't have said Kraus, my older brother of 2 years, worked hard at all to become deserving of the Ushiromiya family name. He told me many times since my early childhood that he would naturally succeed father simply because he was born a man. He kept on repeating that, as though it formed an uncrossable gap between us. I couldn't stand it, even though I always got better grades than Nissan. Even though I became class president when he never managed more than vice president. Even so, Nissan was considered to be the appropriate successor to the Shiromiya family just because he was a man. Of course, you could find gender discrimination everywhere in those days. No, it was even considered a virtue in that era. During that despicable time, people said that when a woman is born, she obeys her parents, when she gets married, she obeys her husband, and when she gets old, she obeys her children. But that was exactly how I wanted to turn that on its head. Innocently, I kept trying to prove that I was the most fit. However, I eventually realized that all of my efforts had been doomed from the beginning.
女の学力は紅茶の砂糖にも似ていると思わないかね。ないのも味気ないが、過ぎれば紅茶の味わいを大いに損なう。
Jesus wept.
それはどういう意味よ、兄さん。
男には男にしか務められないことがあるように、女とて女にしか務められないことがあるんじゃないか。
The fists are up.
子を産み育て、一家の主を支えるのは、女でなければできぬ務めだと思うがね。
Oof, oof. Oh, the vintage values are hitting.
必要がないと言いたいの？
そこまでは言わんよ。無学な女など話していても疲れるだけだ。
Jesus.
だが、あまり頭が良すぎる女はもっと疲れる。お前のように自己主張の激しい女では、未来の夫もさぞや苦労すると思うのだがね。
Cue future Hideyoshi, fists up, grabs neck.
夫の影にいろとそう言いたいの？余計なお世話よ。
お前が親父殿を尊敬していて、その娘としてふさわしくありたいと思う気持ちは、私にも尊敬できることだ。
気持ち悪い。何が私よ。この間まで俺だったくせに。もう当主気取りなの？
Kinda, yeah.
当主は私が継ぐことに最初から決まっている。にもかかわらず、お前は自分も当主になれるかのように錯覚して、無駄かつ暴走した努力をしているに過ぎんのだよ。
暴走した努力ですって。私が大学院に進みたいと言い出すのがそんなにもおかしいっていうの？
ああ、おかしいね。お前は確かに栄光ある後ろ宮家の長女だよ。やがてはその家紋を背負って、父にとって最も価値ある相手と婚約することになるだろう。
This is rough to read.
そこで求められるのは過剰な学識ではない。夫をいたわる優しい気持ちと家事能力、そして一家の長を立てる控えめな態度だ。お前にはそれが完全に欠落している。
The irony of this conversation is that even Kraus's wife in the future bests him in every sense of the word. So much so that even his dad is like, yeah, Nazi, you are the only worthy of Ushiromiya in this family, even though you don't even have my blood.
私は真相の令状のつもりなんかないわよ。お父様の仕事を手伝ってあげられる最高の人間でありたいと思っただけよ。
ならそれは後ろ宮家令嬢としてふさわしくあるべきではないのかね。お前ときたらなんだね。いい年をして未だに男勝りで、家事炊事はおろか、男を喜ばせる化粧一つ身につけていないじゃないか。最近は喧嘩の稽古までしてるというじゃないかね。
失礼な。
She can kick your ass.
喧嘩じゃないわよ。武道は心の修練に最適なのよ。それに叱るべき場に出るときは十分女として気を使ってるわよ。何が言いたいのよ。女は男に仕える奴隷であれと、しゃしゃり出るなと、そう言いたいわけ？
You tell him.
それを認めるのはエレガントではないが、お前の勘違いを正すには少々毒のある言葉も必要かと思うよ。だから言い切ろう。女は男に仕えるために存在する。そして男は女を養うために存在する。女の仕事は男の背中を守り、家庭を守って子を育てることだ。それは本来言葉で気づかされることではない。おのずと気づくことだ。しかしお前は いくつになってもそれを自覚しなかった
And yet, Kraus, you got bested by your wife.
な。だから社会に出る前に兄である私がその誤解を解くのだよ。感謝してほしいものだね。
それは全ての女への侮辱よ。いえ、私は自分のことを女だと思ったことなどないし、女だからと甘えたことなど一度もない。私のどこが兄さんに劣っているというの？成績も経歴も何もかも私の方が勝っていて、ただ男である以上の何も持たない兄さんが私の何を見下せるっていうのよ。
身の程をわきまえているか否かだよ。私は次の当主としての心構えを日々養っている。それは将来必ず必要になることだ。だがお前は違う。嫁ぎ後ろ宮の席を失うことが決まっているくせに、見る必要のない幻を見ている。何がそんなに不満なんだ。仮に男に生まれようとも当主を継ぐのはお前ではないだろうに。
何が不満かですって？兄
Jeez.
さんはいつも自分は当主跡継ぎだからと私を見下して、そのくせ
What's my complaint, you say? I've got a billion of them. Grudges, hard feelings, humiliations that I'll never forget kept floating through the back of my mind. They all built up at the same time, coming out of my throat as a shameful moan.
何事か。沈黙を尊ぶのは神だけではないぞ。
お父さん。
お父様。
He probably overheard our sibling fight. Father entered with a clear, unhappy face. Oh shit.
クラウス、また兄弟喧嘩か。お前にはなぜに弟や妹たちを率いる貫禄が宿らぬのか。
Oh snap!
情けない。
Getting
そんなが聞いては
roasted.
切れるぞ。
In a flash, he struck Krause's face. Oh no, this is bad. I read it myself to be struck in the same way, but I wasn't hit.
申し訳ありません。
Oops!
お父さん。
お前に足りぬのは貫禄だけではない。まだまだ足りぬ。何もかもが未熟だ。にもかかわらず一人前を気取っておる。それを語るには100年早いことを肝に銘じ、研鑽に努めよ。わしをこれ以上息子の不出来で嘆かせるでないぞ。
Oh god.
はい。お父さんの後を継ぐにふさわしい人間になれるよう、さらに努力します。
Ah! Thoroughly roasted. It was as if those words were directed at me. Even when he was being yelled at by father, he was still bragging to me about how he was special. About how he was the successor. I just couldn't stand it and finally spoke what was on my mind. Even though I realized that it would be improper for a member of the Roshiramiya family to do such a
お父
thing.
様、教えてください。私の何が劣っているというのですか？私はお父様の名に恥じない人間になれるよう、今日まであらゆる勉強と努力を重ねてまいりました。どうか私にも何が劣っているのかお教えください。私はこれ以上何を身につけたならお父様に認めていただけるのですか？
またその話か。
Oh no.
お前には何と言えばわかるのだ。お前に期待していることなど何もない。
Oh god.
女は女らしく料理や裁縫を学んでおればいい。貴様には女の心構えがないのだ。夫に仕えようとする気心が男に尽くそうという海外しさが全く感じられぬ。
Oh Jesus.
何のための女なのか。後ろ宮家の令嬢であることを自覚しておるのか。なのに学びたがることは男の真似事ばかり。お前の役割はクラウスの真似事ではないのだぞ。お前には自らの役割が分かっているのか。
私は後ろ宮家の人間としてお父様の名に恥ずかしくない。
その時点でもう間違っておるわ。貴様の役割は家を出て嫁ぎ、わしにとって有益な男を連れてくることだ。
Oh god.
そして夫に
Yikes, this is painful.
生み増やせ。夫の一族に褒めたたえられる良妻であれ。 お前に男を喜ばせる何ができるというのか？茶の作法があるというのか？料理の才能があるというのか？何もない。お前がやっているのはみんなクラウスの真似事ばかりではないか。後宮家はクラウスが継ぐ。お前がそれに不満を唱えるというのなら、それはこの私に逆らうということだ。お前は我が娘でありながら父の言うことを聞けぬというのか。出て行け。感動だ。お前に後ろ宮など語らせん。
Shush!
感動だ、感動だ。
Oh god. This family.
お父さん、しっかり落ち着いてください。源氏さん、水を持ってきてもらえますか？
はい、ただいま。
エヴァ、席を外せ。
I know, I think in episode 1 I was like, oh, Rosa is the worst parent or something. No, this is the worst parent. He started this all. Rosa wouldn't be the way she is if it wasn't for him, so...
感動だ。私の言うことが危険なら感動だ。
The biggest irony of this scene is already having seen the conversation he has with Natsu in episode 1, where he's like, you are the only woman in this place who is worthy of being Ushiromiya, and she's a woman and has all the qualities that Kraus should have as a leader, right? Oops, I accidentally skipped the text. Father was coughing pretty badly, and Nissan patted his back, as if it was a duty that was naturally his. It was so vexing for me to let him take that duty all for himself right then. If I carelessly approached Father at that moment, then I would probably be the one to get hit next. However, I fearlessly tried to approach Father's back. Genji blocked me.
エヴァ様、今は席をお外しになられた方が良いでしょう。親方様は今日はご機嫌がよくありません。
Is he ever in a good mood?
なぜに私の息子たちはこうも不出来なのか。
Because you're an incompetent father.
クラウスは貫禄が足りず、エヴァはいつまで経ってもじゃじゃ馬だ。男らしい男はおらず、女らしい女もいない。私の育て方がいつどこでどう間違ったのか。
I don't know. Maybe look in the mirror.
なぜだ、源氏。私は何をいつどこでどう間違えたというのか。
親方様は何もお間違いになってはおりません。
Biggest joke on earth.
クラウス様はたくましいご子息に、エヴァ様は麗しいご令嬢に成長されました。何もお間違いにはなっておりません。
Okay, in that way I agree. Yes, Genji, let's go. You are the only man in this house I trust.
麗しいというのか。
Everything.
淑女どころか男の真似事ばかり。感動だ、感動だ。
お父さん、それは私からよくエヴァに言い聞かせたところです。エヴァもこれからは心を入れ替えてレディーとして振る舞うと約束してくれました。
Oh, sure.
どうかもう少しの猶予をいただけませんか。
何がレディーだ。感動だ、感動だ。
He doesn't sound okay. Go quickly and leave this to me. Kraus gave me a look telling me that. Man, that sucks, having a dad like Kinzo. This man is content with nothing. Did I take the wrong path, just like Father and Nissan said? True, I never studied how to be a lady. Everything I've learned was done in the hopes that I could help Father someday. But is that really true? Haven't I always been trying to compete with Nissan, with whom I've had a bad relationship since I was a young girl? Because I wanted to steal his position as a successor and show him a thing or two. Every chance he gets, Nissan tells me that men should be manly and women should be sorry, womanly. my body didn't want to finish reading that sentence, I guess. I've been tormented by this unfair discrimination just because of my gender, something people are born with and can't do anything about. I resisted, endeavoring to this very day to study and prove that I'm not inferior despite being a woman. But that doesn't mean my love of yearning comes entirely from a stupid complex I've got against Nissan. Father wanted me to become a lady with whom he could go out in public and not be embarrassed. Did I betray his hopes, earning good grades and threatening Nissan just to satisfy a childhood resentment? Nah. Oh!
違うわ。私が後宮家の跡継ぎになるんだって。あなたは私に誓ったわ。
This is a young Eva? She was cute.
あんたは。
The one whispering to me was the me of my years as a young girl, born inside my heart on the day I made that oath. That's right. She was my only ally. When things got difficult, when I felt like I was about to get crushed by it all, she would always quickly appear and support me. When I ran into roadblocks in despair, she would always appear to support me. When I grew up and the memories of my childhood years faded, I always started to forget my conversation with her.
私、後宮エヴァは絶対に後宮家の当主になるの。そして、あのムカつく高慢ちきなクラウスを見返してやるの。そのために一緒に頑張ろうって、あの日私たちは約束したわ。
Stab your father on the way.
約束したわ。私は後宮家の当主跡継ぎになるってあの日にね。
On that day, when I had been overcome with sadness, wondering why I was even alive, you appeared from inside me and lent me your strength.
お父様に認められたかった。兄さんの花を明かしてやりたかった。そうすれば惨めな自分に決別ができると信じていたわ。
For a time, I truly believed that my life had no purpose other than to be looked down upon by Nissan. It's painful just remembering those days. There brought a wound, a crack inside my heart. She taught me how to seal up that wound. I turned my anger into effort and improved myself, trying to become a person more worthy of the headship than Kraus was, trying to triumph over him by making father accept me. It was my perfect revenge. I was vaguely aware that a woman couldn't possibly become the family head. But I thought that maybe, if I could prove myself valuable enough to overturn that premise, then surely even father would select me to be his successor. If that happened, then I'd be able to have the greatest and most perfect revenge against Nissan, who always acted like his succession to the headship was completely inevitable.
そうすれば私たちの心の傷は癒えるの。
Sup, Nicole Cass? I'm about an hour into this chapter and I'm excited this is an Eva POV chapter.
その日まで頑張ろうって誓い合ったわ。
Also, Kinzo sucks. Kraus also does.
あなたはその約束
They are both going into the trash.
クズ。育児なし。へそかんで死んじゃえば
Even though she looked like me as a kid, she was still another me. Her tongue was sharp because it was mine.
自分に言われても腹が立つわね。そこまでボロクソに言われる筋合いはないわ。ならばその怒りを勉強に費やしましょうよ。怒りを力に変えるのが私の魔法。
Oh yes, relatable.
この力で何度もあなたの窮地を救い、あなたはなせないはずのことを成し遂げてきた。私の魔法がある限り、あなたにできないことなどありはしないわ。そうね。怒りはいつも私の原動力だったわ。いつからそれを忘れてしまったのかしら。
Being driven by anger, hell yeah, let's go.
再び私たちのもの。さあ、その怒りを力に変えて、もっともっと勉強に励みましょう。きっと私たちにはまだまだ勉強が足りないのよ。大学院に進んで、もっといっぱい勉強して、優れた成績を出して、クラウスを追い詰めてやりましょう。
I support this. Let's destroy Kraus.
あいつ、なんでもなさそうな顔してるけど、きっと心は相当追い詰められてるわ。早く身の程を思い知って死んじゃえばいいのに。そうすれば私たちが当主になれる。ルドルフは辞退してくれるわ。 あの子は私には逆らえないもの。よして。もうこれ以上勉強してもお父様は私を認めてくれないのよ。
He doesn't have to accept you if he's dead.
どうして？お父様は私に女らしくしろと言っているのよ。私がどれだけ頑張ろうと女である限り、たとえ私が兄さんより先に生まれていたとしても私に当主を譲ることはないのよ。
That's just rough.
私がどれだけ努力を重ねようとも私は女以上の何者にもなれない。認められない。何の努力もしない兄さんを超えられない。永遠に見下され続ける。お父様もクラウスも最低の男尊主義者だわ。
Let's go. Yes.
早く死んじゃえばいいのに。
She cursed him for my sake. Words that I couldn't say so easily, she said for me. Even though I understand that she's just another part of myself inside of me, I feel like she's the only ally I have who can sympathize with me. However, while sympathy might do a lot to calm my heart, it won't do anything to improve my current situation. In the end, she can only console me for however long it takes me to be dejected by reality before I finally accept it.
ありがとう。もう結構よ。こうとなったらお父様が驚くような淑女になってやるわ。兄さんなんかとは比べ物にならない立派な男を探して。
Oh yeah, see, the Osh is definitely better.
ダメ、そんなの。
And I don't say this sarcastically, I mean it. She rejected my timid thoughts. I understand. Because she is me, I understand.
お父様は少なくとも今は女に当主を継がせないと言っている。でもそれすらも所詮はお父様が決めたルールでしかないの。
And rules exist to be
お
broken.
父様が決めた以上、それを破棄できるのもお父様。人の気持ちなど浜のマサゴが尽きるよりはるかに早く変わるわ。クラウスが愚鈍な男であることは私たちが立証しなくてもやがてお父様も理解する。その時男女の境のくだらない垣根はそれを設けたお父様によって取り払われるの。その日は必ず
If only it were that simple.
どうして必ずなんて言えるのよ。それが私の魔法だから。あなたが信じてくれさえすればこの魔法は必ず奇跡を呼ぶの。私の魔法の源はあなたの信じる心だけ。
Okay. If I use this magic, then I'll surely never have to doubt until the day I die that I'll eventually become the head. But I don't know if that's the right thing for Shiromiya Eva. Maybe I should aim to become the kind of lady father wants, someone who can proudly participate in high society. And if I'm reborn, maybe father will change his opinion of me. Maybe I can find my own lifestyle, just as Nissan has found his. And anyway, I just can't imagine my stubborn father choosing a woman like me as the head. Especially if it means skipping over Kraus.
信じないの？あのね、私思ったの。私には当主は告げないかもしれないけれど、私は女で子を産むことができるわ。もし兄さんに子供ができず、私だけが子供を産めたなら、兄さんの次の当主は私の子供ということになるでしょ？
Yes.
それはつまり、私が兄さんから当主の座を奪うのと同じ意味にならないかしら。
Oh.
本気で言ってるの？
Oh yeah, so this is why she had George.
本気よ。少女時代からの決意を捨てるのは確かにとても悲しいこと。私の少女時代そのものであるあなたを裏切るのは、でもそれが一番現実的なのよ。
Yes, girl boss Eva, let's go destroy
夢を捨てる
them.
の？そして私も捨てるの？
Probably
捨てるん
not.
じゃない。私も大人になってあなたと決別する日が来たということよ。そうね。エヴァはもう大人になったわ。魔法の使い方さえ忘れてしまった。
Okay.
今は一児の母。自ら夢を叶える魔法を忘れ去ってその夢を息子に押し付けている。自らの人生をお父様やクラウスによってめちゃくちゃにされたくせに、それが大人というものなの？ジョージはどこに出しても恥ずかしくない自慢の息子よ。私には叶えられなかった夢をジョージなら叶えられるかもしれない。
Oh, is this a conversation she's having in present time, or is this a
ジェシカなんて成
flashback
績も
after
貧
all?
困も不良じゃない。それに女なのよ。ジェシカさえ辞退してくれればジョージが後継ぎになることだって。
Even saying it was painful. Am I just forcing my own regrets onto George? It's not like I have any right to look on Jessica with scorn. Wasn't that just horrible for hitting her with the same words that had caused me so much suffering? I understand. I understand. The desire to triumph over my brother is part of my own personal revenge. I can't use George for that.
だから私自らが復讐するわ。
By killing him.
ルドルフとローザを味方に兄さんから金をせしめようという計画があるの。
Okay, so this is present
きっと一矢報
dialogue.
いることができるわ。何しろ兄さんがお父様の資産をつまみ食いしているのは確かなんだから。
つまんない計画。そんなのさっさとやめて泣き寝入りでもしちゃえば。私たちは後宮家の当主になるの。その夢をごまかさないで。だから絶対に叶えられると私を信じて。私の魔法を信じて。
I wonder when
魔法は力を持つの
when
か
Eva
しら。
started doing this whole magic thing and how far it goes.
私の魔法はどんな願いも必ず叶えるの。
信じるわ。信じるから。その魔法で奇跡を起こして。そうでなくちゃ私の心の傷は永久に癒されない。
And then she snaps her fingers and is like, sure, and then she just goes and kills kids and cows. And like, this is my magic.
ならよく聞いて。
Like she snaps her fingers and finger guns away.
私の魔法の言葉。そしてそれを理解して。だから耳を澄ましてよく聞いて。
What she's gonna say? Behold the Sweetfish River running through my beloved hometown. You who seek the Golden Land follow its path downstream in search of the key. Oh, it's the riddle. It's the riddle. Are we finally going to solve the riddle in this chapter, I wonder?
エヴァ姉さん、そろそろ着くみたいですよ。
When Kiria shook her shoulders, Eva jumped and awoke from her doze. Oh, this is cute sprite of her.
ごめんなさいね。寝ぼけてたわ。驚かせてしまってごめんなさいね。
エヴァおばさん、ぐっすりでしたね。朝はだいぶ早かったんすか？
まあね、恥ずかしいところを見せちゃったわ。ごめんなさい。
眠れるくらい余裕があるのは大したもんだぜ。バートラなんかずっと落ちるーったの沈むーったの。
This big dork.
全く退屈しないやつだぜ。
うるせえな。人間誰しも苦手の一つや二つくらいあるもんだぜ。
That's Bator's purpose in life, to extinguish the boredom of women and other men and non-binary alike. Bator and Jessica came in messing around. Uno also made a face as if asking, "Are you okay?"
しっかりしろよ。親父たちの顔を見れば眠気もすっ飛ぶさ。せいぜいお互い頑張ろうぜ。
そうね。特に今年はしっかりしないとね。
だな。
It's time to take money!
鉄の穴を引き締めて。
Let's all tighten our assholes! That's an expression! Rudolph said these strict words in a small voice that only Eva could hear. Failure would not be tolerated in this year's family conference. All their companies were hanging in that balance. Even if Rudolph's face looked like a little tense, Eva's expression probably looked tense as well. We need money.
荷物を持つよ。甲板に上がろう。
ありがとう。ジョージは本当に気が利くわね。
He's a good boy.
どうして急にお礼なんか。母さんらしくもない。
エヴァ、ジョージ、到着やで。荷物をまとめるんや。
Maria, baby.
こらマリア、転ぶから走るのやめなさい。
Yes, to be careful, don't trip. It seemed Maria was already getting excited. She ran circles around Hideyoshi, escaping from Rosa, who was trying to catch her. Oh, what did you say?
どうしたの母さん。具合悪いの？
ジョージ、
She said something under her breath, but I couldn't understand what she said.
荷物を持って先に行ってなさい。母さんは貧血だろ。わしが肩を貸すわ。
そう。わかったよ。先に行ってるよ。
Something odd in Eva's expression told Hideyoshi that it hadn't been a pleasant awakening, so he made George go on ahead. Rudolph's family and Rosa's family also went up to the deck, leaving only Eva and Hideyoshi inside the boat. Eva had a vague expression on her face, as though she still hadn't been able to escape from her daydream. Is she okay?
神妙な顔して。
私、ジョージを自分の復讐の道具にしてたんじゃないかしら。
Oh.
私の兄さんに対する子供じみた敵対心のせいで、あの子の人生を自分のおもちゃにしてしまってはいないかしら。
Am I going to be hit with parental feels right now?
私はなんてこと、なんてこと。
No.
そんなことあらへん。ジョージはどこに出しても恥ずかしゅうないわしらの自慢の息子や。仮にエヴァの思惑が多少混じっとったとしても、結果オーライっちゅうもんやないか。
Yes, George is a good boy.
エヴァはな、もう悪うない。むしろジョージは厳しくしつけてくれたと感謝しとるくらいやで。
本当に。
I mean, the only thing you tried to get in the way of was Sharon, but alright.
ジョージは私のこと嫌な母さんだと思ってないかしら。ねえ。
No, that's a very vulnerable side of Eva that I've seen yet.
口にしたことあらへんで。エヴァの杞憂や。
秀吉様、皆様、下船なさっておりますよ。おや、何か落とし物ですか？
Yes, Kumasawa, thank you for your presents. Much needed presents. Kumasawa had come to check on them when they hadn't gone up the deck. Hideyoshi hid Eva behind his back so that their expression wouldn't be seen.
すまんな。ちょっとわしのネクタイピンがいかれてもうてな。もう大丈夫や。すぐ行くで。外で待っててや。
そうですか。
I like that Hideyoshi understands that Eva wouldn't want to be seen this way and swiftly made Kumasawa go away. Even though she didn't really understand, Kumasawa realized that something had come up and disappeared so that she didn't trouble them further. If they stayed here any longer, they would probably make everyone else worry too.
そろそろ行こうか。ジョージたちを心配させてまうで。
私、本当にジョージに恨まれてない。
I don't think he does.
ああ。恨まれてなんかあらへん。むしろ感謝しとるぞ。悪い夢でうなされたんか。また。
Oh, she has frequent nightmares? That's also sad. Hideyoshi knew that Eva was often tormented by nightmares, and they always grew more marked on the days leading up to the family conference. Hideyoshi knew that Eva's relationship with Kraus was still full of antagonism to the point of being traumatic, and that she still couldn't let go of the feelings she'd had as a child.
それは夢や。わしが一緒にいる。こうして手をギュッと握っとったら、そんな夢もどっか行ってしまうで。な、ほら。
Hideyoshi is truly the only good man in Eva's life, and George as well.
ありがとう。もう平気よ。降りましょ
う。ああ、降りようか。みんな待たせてるで。
ごめんなさい。
ん？
さっき、あなたのタバコの煙のこと、怒鳴ってごめんなさい。
普段ならそんなことで謝らんくせに。
Oh, now this is a good couple.
悪い夢見た後のお前は気弱でいかん。
They work so well together. In chapter 1, they speak fantastically to each other, and this too. I'm really weak for stuff like this, like Eva showing her vulnerable side only to Hideyoshi.
私のこと嫌いになった？
ならんならん。この程度で嫌いなんて言うとったら3日もたんで。ささ、たったたった。
She is good. I mean, she is kind of mean sometimes. I mean, the treatment to Shannon was uncalled for, but okay, and the way she treated Rosa was also uncalled for. But she and Hideyoshi are good. This time it was Goda. It looked like they kept everyone waiting too long after all. Even Eva had to stand up without grumbling now. She had to stop forcing her bad mood onto her husband and causing him any more trouble. No, that's not how it is! Because that wasn't something a good wife would do. Ugh, ouch. Is everything okay? Nothing is okay with me now! That was a little bit too relatable to me.
ちょっと貧血気味でね。もう大丈夫よ。
婦人病中やっちゃ。
Come on.
気にせんといてや。
もうそんなの人に言わないでよ。恥ずかしいわ。
すまんすまん。
Eva elbowed Hideyoshi in the gut. But by that time, her normal expression had returned, which allowed Hideyoshi to relax a little. Look at this! She's able to act like herself! This is a good husband! Unlike Kraus, he's kind of a shit husband. I mean, making Natsuki constantly have headaches, treating her like shit, being like, oh, you're causing too much of a racket, and stuff like that. Now, Rudolph, I want to know how he acts with Kirie. The bright sunlight outside made her dizzy. A small plank for getting off the boat was lowered, and Goda was waiting there, smiling and ready to lend them a hand. Yes, sir. Mr. Buttchin.
ありがとう。
六軒島へようこそいらっしゃいました。
おかえりなさい。
Ah, God. I actually yelled because I got a Steam notification and I was like, no. No. When she left the boat, it seemed to Eva as though she'd heard the voice of her younger self. No, it hadn't seemed that way. Someone had told her, welcome back, after becoming a shameless adult. The voice of her young self was distant.
私は何のために生きてるの？何をどうすれば私はこの猛襲から解き放たれるというの？
Murder. Hideyoshi heard her talking to herself. And Hideyoshi held on tightly to Eva's shoulders. His firmness alone told her that there was no need to say any more. Maybe it was because the typhoon was getting closer. The lively cries of the seagulls, which usually greeted them when they arrived, couldn't be heard at all. Oh man. In times like this, I appreciate the dynamic between Hideyoshi and Eva. Ooh. I think it's been a while I've seen panning like this. We're at the beach again.
6年前のことか。何しろ6年って言ったら小学校丸々一つ分じゃねえか。覚えてろってのが酷な話だぜ。
そうだね。
I wonder what they're talking
若かっ
about.
た僕たちにとっては大きな成長の6年間だったはずだからね。
Oh, they're probably talking about the last time
案
Battler
外
was there.
自己紹介がなかったら思い出せなかったんじゃないかい？
そうかな。私はバトラだってすぐに分かったぜ。
Oh, I think we had this
口を
dialogue
聞いて
before
さらに確信できたぜ。
in chapter 1.
マリア、初めて会った。
Yes.
6年前わかんない。
Oh yeah, she was 2 at the time,
そ
or
うですよ
3.
ね。マリア様はまだ3つでしたものね。
3, indeed. So when I first said 2, it means I can't do math.
それを言われたら俺もだぜ。3歳の頃しか知らないマリアがこんなに大きく成長してるんだから、そりゃわからねえわけだぜ。
Yes, the little baby. After lunch, we had all gone out to the beach to walk around, talk, and take it easy. Our parents were apparently having a suspicious, complicated discussion about money, so we ended up leaving them behind. Well, just as I'd guessed from the start, the conversation focused on me since I'd been away for 6 years.
しかし本当に背が伸びたね。僕も低いつもりはないけど、とにかくその身長には驚いたよ。
そうですね。6年前のバトラ様をよく覚えておりますが、それでも驚いたな。
Ah, crap! I accidentally skipped the rest of the voice again.
6年前のバトラからは想像がつかないくらいだったぜ。
みんな案外6年も前のことなんか覚えてるもんだな。俺なんかかなり記憶があやふやだってのによ。
How old was Bator then? If he was 11 then.
だろうな。
11 or 12. I don't know if he's 17 or 18. I don't remember.
私たちのことを思い出すのに
I think he's
少し
17.
時間をかけてたみたいだもんな。あれはちょっと傷つくぜ。
いや、さすがに6年前だぜ。覚えてろって方が無理があるぜ。
6年前のことですと、あまり覚えてはおられないのですか？私はつい昨日のことのように鮮明に覚えておりますが。
シャノンは記憶力がいいからね。
Yes.
6年前にバトラ君がどんなことをしていたとか言っていたとかよく覚えてる。
そういやそうだよな。シャノンって妙なところで記憶力がいいんだよな。
Tell me what you remember.
マリア、覚えるの下手くそ。楽しいことはスイスイ覚えるけど、つまんないのは全然ダメ。
That's normal. We all laughed, saying that everyone was like that.
シャノン、ちなみに6年前のバトラはどんなだったんだ？何かエピソードを覚えてないのかよ。
I wonder if Shannon would be like, he was difficult.
そうですね。確かお帰りの際はこうおっしゃっていました。また来るぜ。See you again.
He said it in English
きっ
too.
と白馬にまたがって迎えに来るぜ。
ギャ
Okay.
ーダメ恥ずかせ
That's the single most wholesome thing Bator has ever said in his life. The see you again is what gets me.
6年前のバトラはそんな感じのバカっぽいセリフばかり言ってたぜ。
Hearing Jessica laugh is music to my ears.
確かに当時のバトラ君がいかにも言いそうだな。
恥ずかしい？恥ずかしい？
I plugged my headphones. Oops. I unplugged my headphones on accident from how hard I laughed that Battler is already crying. Battler crying simulator counter 1.
くらいになったらそういう恥ずかしいことが口にしたくなるからね。そういう時は口に出す前にチラシの裏に書いて3度読み直してから口にすべきかどうか考えるんだぞ。じゃねえときっと後悔するからな。いや、誰しもがそういう痛々しい時代をくぐり抜けていくのだ。
Yes, Battler, everybody has to go through that cringe period.
そうさ。そして身の程を知り、恥を覚えて大人になるんだ。
That's what we call being a cringe teenager. It's everybody does
これは
that.
大人への過渡期なら 誰もが犯す青春の甘酸っぱくて恥ずかしい消し去りたい記憶なんだ。
Oh god, reminds me of the time in elementary school, embarrassing things that I did in the past that were super cringe. Like making, like making old Sonic OCs. Like I had this OC in the past when I was like 10. For Sonic, which was like just a red Sonic with a red fire mark on his cheek, and his name was something like Kai Fire the Hedgehog. And it was literally just a red Sonic with a fire tattoo on his cheek. That's it. Like original Hedgehog, not still. I had way more Sonic OCs that were kind of cringe. Like I had a skateboarder Fox OC, which I can't show right now because I don't have the picture scanned, but her name was like Saggy Blaster or something. Ah, to be a teenager. After all, this was all stuff I let slip out without thinking, so I didn't remember the words exactly. But now those words were being recited to me. They were as embarrassing as all hell. I only recently came to understand this weakness and was working hard to avoid such careless outbursts, but I guess I was just born with the habit of speaking without thinking, and there's nothing I can do about it. But the question is, did Batra make Persona OCs when he was a teenager? Asking for science. Oh, I think the other one of the other recolor OCs that I remember I had for Sonic was like a purple Amy with a black dress, and her name was the Emmy. Like instead of like Amy with an A, it was Emmy with an E. Very original. I wish I had the pictures and fanfics of all my old OCs because they are things I like to look back on fondly and laugh at the same time. Yes, poke fun at him, he deserves it. I agree, but Batter deserves to be bullied. It is always morally correct to bully Batter.
別にいじめてるわけじゃないんだよ。この話はこれくらいにしようか。でもシャノン、後でバトラ君のいないところでこっそり教えてね。なんだか面白そうだから。
はい、かしこまりました。
そりゃねえぜ、シャノンちゃんよ。
What if she just is sitting with George and then she pulls up a picture and is like, Battler showed me this picture of his persona OC. His name is Butler the Fox or something. And then at the bottom it's written the wolf instead of the fox. For a while, George Aniki laughed at me, as though warming up for when Sharon-chan would tell me about my embarrassing misspeaks and my embarrassing personas. George looked like he was flirting with Shannon, but he seemed somewhat open and frank about it. He was always that way with his cousins, but he usually took on reserved, gentlemanly attitude when he came in contact with servants. When I thought about it, I got the feeling he was being a bit overly friendly, which seemed strange. Maria started scribbling in the sand with a stick, and George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan joined in. This left me and Jessica off to the side, so I asked her secretively.
Jessica. ジョージの兄貴ってさ、シャノンちゃんと付き合ってたりする？
I wonder if they are already going out like in chapter 2. Okay, so yes, like in chapter 2 in 1. It's already established.
俺冗談で言ったつもりだったんだけど、本当に付き合ってんのかよ。
Welp.
声が大きいって。一応内緒の付き合いってことらしいぜ。特にエヴァおばさんの耳には入れない方がいいよ。
Yes.
なるほど、使用人との恋か。いやでもいつの間に
I don't know.
6年ってすげえな。でも確かに兄貴なら人間もできてるし、シャノンちゃんも優しくて海外しそうだし、お似合いかもな。
Yes. Actually, 6 years ago, I remember taking notice of her just a little bit. I see. She really fits well with George Aniki. Nothing I can do about that. Goodbye, my fleeting first love of 6 years ago. Oh! Oh, I didn't know that! So that's maybe why he said the thing with the I'll come back on the white horse and everything for you. Aw, he was probably trying to be flirty with Shannon at the time. Oh well. Such do teenage crushes turn out sometimes. Which means that the collection of embarrassing lines Shannon-chan has just held back on probably has something to do with that. Oh, I can't take it.
兄貴たち、付き合ってどのくらいになるんだ？
どの段階から付き合ってると呼ぶのかにもよるだろうけど、確実に1年以上は続いてると思うぜ。双方片思い時代を含めると数年になるんじゃねえのかな。
Oh damn. Before I'd realized it, the two of them had separated themselves from the group and were walking down the beach, talking about something. They looked calm, and rather than a light relationship between the two lovers, it looked like a more serious one, as though they were already engaged.
6年か。でっけえ月日だな。俺にとってのこの6年は何だったんだ？図体がでかくなっただけだ。親父との親子喧嘩で意地を張り合ううちに6年も経っちまったってだけの。
Ah, jeez.
くだらない時間だったな。
バートラの方こそどうなんだよ。彼女とかできたのかよ。
No. I mean...
さて、一緒に遊ぶ女の子は何人かいるぜ。
Such as Beatrice?
だけど、オンリーワンって関係はまだねえな。
Oh no.
俺がお子様なんだろうよ。誰かと二人っきりでいるより、みんな大勢でワイワイやってる方が楽しいように思えるんだ。
Oh, so you're a playboy. That's nice.
ああ、そりゃなんともバトラらしいぜ。でも、女友達との関係はちゃんとしっかりしておけよ。
I mean, he could be polyamorous for all I know, but... Knowing Battler, I know he's just being a playboy.
女の思い込みとコミュニティは怖えぜ。勝手にバトラーをめぐって暗闘が繰り広げられて、勝手に誰かが泣いたり傷ついたりしているかもしれないぜ。
おかしいな。同じ忠告をつい先週クラスの女から受けた気がするぜ。なんだってんだろうな。
The advice is don't be like the guy from school days.
どうしてみんなで楽しく過ごせねえんだ。そうまでしてつがいになりたいのかね。
Yes?
バトラーがまだそういう相手に会ったことがねえからだろうぜ。まあ、おいおいそういう女に出会うこともあるだろうよ。
Battler confirmed for the guy who always goes for the harem
気長
endings.
に待つこったな。
なんだよ。まるでお前にはもうそういう相手がいるみたいな言い方じゃねえかよ。お前はどうなんだよ。彼氏とかできたのかよ。
え？私かよ。
She wouldn't. She could say yes if only Kanon also said yes. Also, look at her fangs. They're so cute.
いや、その
I am very weak for Kanon and Jessica.
だよ。見たところ気になる男はいるけどまだ告白もできてねって、そういうところだろ。
いや、そういうわけでは、先生、私のことなんかどうでもいいだろ。
話を振ってきたのはそっち
I mean, she probably did confess to him, but all he said was you can't have feelings for furniture and then left. Like, classic Shannon, sorry, classic Kanon.
そのくせ自分が質問に答えることは決してないんだよな。ずるい生き物だぜ。まったく。
もうまあそのよ、告白はさ、
but got turned
一度
down.
はしたんだよ。まあその盛大に空振りでさ。
Ouch.
ごめんなさい。てか
No.
いや、その
She got worse.
まあその私がすごく一方的だったんで面食らわれたというのかな。そういう対象だとも思われてなかったという雰囲気。
That's a big ouch.
そりゃそうだろうよ。
We know how it went down in chapter 2.
お前の言葉
With
遣い
Connor being like, I am in deep denial. Please don't make me like you. Stop.
もうちょいおしとやかにしないと男心くすぐらないぜ。
Excuse me. She does have an interest of a boy. He's just a dummy.
私みたいな言葉遣いじゃ。
You talk like a man. Batter is fucking brutal. Yeah, he is, and yet he's the one without a girlfriend or without a love interest.
悪いかな。
まあその言葉遣いが全てじゃないだろうが、お前みたいな普段の言葉遣いが悪いやつが急にまともな言葉で話すように努力し始めたら、そういう気概みたいなもんでドキッときちまう男もいるかもな。
There's already a guy who skips his heart for her. He just is a bitch ass. He's an edgelord who will not admit it. Jaxa suddenly started talking more meekly, and then her face instantly went slightly red. I see. Even though her confession didn't go well, it looks like she still hasn't given up. But still, I get it. After seeing how close George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan have gotten, I also kinda want to find a girlfriend. 6 years. 6 years of puberty are pretty important, and they went by pretty fast. As the typhoon approached, the clouds grew steadily grayer, but even so, I had this really refreshing feeling. Maybe I'll try thinking more seriously about the opposite sex, and more than just the side of their boobs, and then you wonder why you don't have a girlfriend. I mean, I respect you are an oppai man. I respect your liking of booba. I am personally a person of ass. But so long you don't try to grab the booba, you should be okay. Or you don't act weird about it, which he does.
そういや、バラ庭園で挨拶したカノン君って若い子。口下手だからってジェシカやたらとかばってたよな。
Oh, he guessed it.
いや、そんなことは。勘繰りすぎだって。
Jessica's not good at covering this up. He knows.
これだけは教えろよ。今この瞬間ジェシカが狙ってる男は半径1キロ以内にいるか？
No.
いや、それはそのどうだろう。
Kanokun was the only boy on this island now who could possibly become her boyfriend. So judging by her reaction, I was right on. I didn't think of the Ushiramiya family as a noble family, but love with a servant. I wouldn't have dreamed that 2 pairs of Romeo and Juliet would be right next to me. Aunt Eva would probably become an obstacle to George, Aniki, and Shannon-chan's love. If Aunt Eva ever learned that Shannon-chan was a partner of her only beloved son, she'd probably scream at her for trying to steal away her precious George, and a relationship between Jessica and Kanokun would probably be just as full of difficulties. Our Nazi was also very strict about that kind of thing. After all, Jessica's husband would probably become the head of the Ushiramiya family in the future. If that person had once been a servant working for the family, well, things could get complicated. Welp. There's a bunch of interesting love affairs going on here. Not love affairs, that's the wrong word. A lot of love troubles going on here.
一緒にいて楽しい相手とつがいになりゃいいじゃねえか。つがいってのは互いが互いを認め合う以外に何の許可もいりやしない。親がどうこう 家がどうこうなんて気にしたら負けだぜ。それを忘れるなよ。半端な気持ちで付き合うんじゃねえぜ。
Yes, indeed.
恋もしたことねえくせに達観したようなことを言いやがって。
恋は損得感情でするなよ。
Yes.
アートでしろよ。俺が言いたいことはそんだけさ。
Actually, a smart thing he has to say.
See you again. Have a nice day.
That's actually pretty solid English.
長寿兄さん、シャーノ聞いて聞いて。パートだったらこいつまた面白いセリフを言い出したぜ。
But you just spoke in English.
何も言ってないって。茶化すな、茶化すな。
Yes, make fun of him.
マリア聞いてた。See you again. See you again.
Yes. For a while, we forget that the wind was getting stronger and played around on the beach. I agree a lot those past 6 years, and being able to celebrate my youth and meet with all my cousins was truly refreshing. It was a bit late now, but I realized that I should have gotten back together with everyone a lot sooner and returned to the Ushiromiya family.
いとこ同士ってのもたまにはいいもんだな。
Yeah. Yes.
マリアもいとこで集まるの楽しくて好き。
そうだな。俺たちももういい年なんだ。別に親がいなくても会えるだろう。たまにはいとこだけで集まって遊ぶのも悪くないかもしれないな。
That's true.
それはいい提案だね。いつかそういう機会を設けてもいいかもしれないね。
同感だね。
The siblings get together when Nintendo 64 gets released and they play Mario Party too.
私たちいとこはいつまでもずっと仲良しがいいよ。
おいおい、そこを強調するとまるで普段の親戚同士の仲が悪いように聞こえちまうぜ。
I mean, all of your parents? They all hate each other? With a passion even? George, Aniki, and Jessica laughed, but it felt just a little strained. Did I say something wrong? Judging by how our parents made quiet expressions and tired faces every once in a while during the boat ride and at the airport, maybe I should have kept that to myself.
そうだな。ジェシカの言う通りだぜ。俺たちはいつまでも仲良しでいようぜ。
Yes. I agree.
マリアも一緒。みんな仲良し。
Yes.
そうだね。うん。僕たちはいつだってみんな一緒だよ。
God, I love the dynamic between the four very, very much. And also I love Maria very much. She's such a baby. I love her.
私たち何恥ずかしいこと言い合ってんだろうな。なんだか照れちまうぜ。
でもとても大切なことだと思いますよ。
Oh, but I have to say this dynamic feels especially complete when Shannon is there too. So I love the dynamic between all five.
人は願わねばいつまでも一緒にいることどころか仲良くいることさえ難しい生き物なのですから。
そうだね。みんなが仲良くいられることを決して当たり前なことだと思ってはいけないね。
知り合いの魔女が言ってた。幸せはみんなが信じなくちゃ叶わないんだって。
確かにね。信じる力には魔法が宿るかもしれない。
With the power of friendship, yes.
それを全員が信じたなら、きっと幸せを運んできてくれるだろうね。
よし。なら恥ずかしいことのついでだ。私たちはみんなで信じ合うと誓おうぜ。みんないつまでも仲良しで、いつまでも幸せでいようって。
We'll always be happy. Statesman preceding unfortunate events in a few hours, probably. Like hell we'll end up like our parents. As if we'd ever search for each other's weakness, going after grandfather's fortune.
俺たちはみんないつまでも仲良しで幸せだ。
Yeah!
それをみんなで信じようぜ。
No matter how much we cousins try to nostalgically have fun, dark clouds continue to approach Rokkenjima. I wonder if the typhoon will pass and let us see the clear skies before we leave this island. Who cares about what our parents are planning? Who cares about the inheritance and the honor of our family? As youthful as we were renewing our old friendship. And we all believed together that we could find happiness. That's why I want this pair of days to end without anything weird happening. In peace and happiness and calmly. No, I don't just want them to end. Please let them end. Oh, thanks, Beatrice. Already. I was having a good time and I'm feeling so insulted. Oh yes, thank you. You were the guest we were all waiting for. I certainly wanted this.
ようやく新しいゲームの用意が整ったぞ。さあさあ始めようではないか。惨劇の物語を。訪れよ。雨よ。風よ。台風よ。
Ah, jeez.
この島をうつしおより切り離す。
Oh no!
異界へ魔界へ幻想界へ六軒島を放り込め。
Well, it's time for murder, or at least for a murder setup. And so the tale repeated for the third time. However, to an endless switch, what did it matter whether it was the first, second, or third time? It probably didn't matter at all. After all, this was a tale of fantasy, endlessly repeating until the match was settled. Will Battler surrender first, or will the witch? It's starting again! We're getting murder! Yay! Then the sky grew dark and cloudy, and the rain and wind were summoned together and became a typhoon. Maria could be seen in the rose garden, paying no mind to the rain that had started falling, going around in circles, searching for that single rose that should have been Mar— Oh no, not that scene again! I'm not strong enough! I'm not strong enough to see this again! Maria definitely remembered it. That rose had been in the flower bed right here. And yet it wasn't anymore. She didn't know what to do with her irritation and not being able to find something that should have been there. And moaning bitterly, she couldn't help but keep going back and forth in circles around the same spot. She was acting almost as though she'd be able to see it if she looked at a different angle. But even though she did that, there was no way to find something that wasn't there. Oh god, I'm not strong enough for this again! The wind grew increasingly strong, and the rain turned into cold large drops. There was no way even Maria would fail to notice this. However, she couldn't find her rose here. It would surely disappear forever. Maria believed that. That feeling spurred her on to keep searching for a rose that she had no chance of finding. Just then, the cold drops of rain tormenting Maria were suddenly blocked. Oh! Oh yeah, is this the hints about how Maria saw Beatrice in part 1? Maria raised her head. Okay, I thought that we were going to get a repeat of the scene with Rosa and Maria again, which was very hard to sit through. But thankfully I don't have to see it again. Not that particular one. Maria raised her head. When she did, she saw an umbrella there, protecting her from the rain. And the one holding out that umbrella was... Ooh! The witch she admired, Beatrice. Yes. Thank you.
Maria のね、バラが見つからないの。おお。ここにあったはずなのに見つからないの。
Oh, I wonder if she will respawn the rose. Maria told Beatrice about how there had been a slightly unhealthy pitfall rose, and that she was sure they had marked it.
それが見つからぬと。そなたも魔女の見習いならば魔法にてバラを探してみるという目だけで探そうとするうちはそれには遥かに及ばぬであろうね。
Oh yes. Using a scanning device, like butterflies.
見つけられない。マリアも頑張って魔法で探そうとしてるけど見つけられない。
魔法の修行にはちょうど良いかとも思うが、この風雨はそなたには少しきつかろう。わらわが特別に力を貸してやる。
お、
弟子の身を案ずるのも師匠の役割だからね。
Yes, good. Maria's face should have been full of sadness until just now, split open into a grin. Maria knew. She knew that there was nothing Beatrice's magic couldn't do. So she was sure that Beatrice would be able to find the rose easily, even though Maria couldn't. Beatrice closed her eyes lightly, acting as though she was listening for something in all this wind and rain. Then she heard it, opened her eyes and spoke.
商業無常。残念だな、マリア。この風雨に。そなたのバラは耐えられなかったらしい。
Oh, it flew away.
それじゃマリアのバラは
風雨に散り、すでにこの世のものではない。
Yeah, that's actually something that I thought that could have happened. What Beatrice had said was quite reasonable. There was nothing odd about the flower being broken off at the stem in the strong wind. However, Maria couldn't accept this and bitterly gave a low-pitched moan.
やだ。やだやだやだ。マリアのバラなの。マリアのバラが帰ってこないと嫌だ。マリアの魔法で生き返らせる。ベアトリーチェ、魔法でバラを蘇らせるのを教えて。
お
無限の魔法の秘術。そなたごとき見習いにはまだまだ早いわ。身の程をすれ。
Maria wiped the tears from her eyes, full of regret. Ah, poor thing. Beatrice shrugged her shoulders and chuckled at Maria's pitiable expression.
よかろう。バラを蘇らせる秘術。わらわが力を貸してやろうぞ。
本
当？ではそなたの心の力を集中させるがいい。目を閉じ、雨を忘れ、風を忘れ、航行するバラの魂を心の目で探すのだ。
Oh? Is she gonna teach me, Maria's the reviving magic? I wonder if this will be relevant later. Maria closed her eyes. Then she repeated Beatrice's song-like words.
さあさあ、思い出してごらんなさい。バラよ。そなたがどんな姿をしていたの？
さあさあ、思い出してごらんなさい。バラよ。そなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。
見るの、聞くの、そして信じる。肉の檻に閉じ込められし魂の力を解放せよ。そう。
Release yourself from this mortal shell. Yes. Around Maria, who was concentrating her power, her eyes tightly shut, small golden butterflies began to dance. Was this the manifestation of the magical power Maria held?
さまよいしバラの魂、今一度集う。そしてその姿を思い出すがいい。さあさあ集えよ。思い出せよ。
The glitter of the gold butterflies began to strengthen, and their numbers increased. Then Beatrice raised the finger up to the skies, and they began to gather at the tip of that finger. And there's the rose. This was a miracle of the golden magic. The gold butterflies began to condense into a single dazzling grain of gold. It was a single glittering gold seed. It rolled on the tip of Beatrice's fingers, budded into a golden sprout, and opened into a golden leaf. It then slowly fell from that fingertip, sank into the mud of the flower bed, and began to grow steadily. Mari, who admired the magic of the magic and the witch, really seemed wanted to see this fantastical sight. However, as an apprentice, Maria was still not qualified to see it. No, she was probably afraid that if she opened her eyes to look, the power that she had concentrated in her heart would be cut off and the magic would be lost. Therefore, Beatrice, as the only one permitted to witness this golden miracle, was the only witch, the sole master of many miracles. Then the fully grown rose bloomed, creating one golden flower. And when Beatrice poked it with her finger in just the right way, the gold-colored sparkles scattered, just as if a golden soap bubble, and popped, and what remained was a single beautiful rose. Yes. Oh, she's going to put like the ribbon again, huh? Beatrice, for the sake of her cute apprentice, who was moaning even more now in concentration, decided one more bit of magic. When she snapped her fingers, a single gold butterfly appeared, fluttered around, and landed on the flower that had just been revived. Then it suddenly burst open and disappeared, becoming golden lace and marking the rose. There it is. There. Good evening, Kumamaru. Are you ready for the next dose of Beato? So am I. She's already here. Oh, so maybe Maria was looking at the wrong spot the entire time in chapter 1. Oh man. Become strong! I believe in Maria! Maria was ecstatic over the revived rose, clapping her hands and jumping around in joy. Watching that, Beatrice also smiled, looking fairly pleased. By now, I can break and repair any soul if I try, not just that of a rose, and kill and revive as I pleased. Come, the barrier of the storm has now sealed Rokkenjima off from the natural world. Now is the time for the Golden Witch Beatrice to descend as an endless witch. Beatrice pulled from her pocket an envelope with the family crest, the one-winged eagle, and gave it to Maria. Maria frolicked around at being selected to be the witch's messenger. Okay, so I think this is basically a hint for chapter 1. I wonder if you already see murder within this stream. I just literally imagine Kinzo has the window open and then you just have Beatrice like saying what she just said, and then from a distance you just have Kinzo saying like, I'm going back just for the extra effect. Like from his window he's saying like, yeah, Beatrice, I am fully prepared. I am ready. I'm not sure if I could make the effect that I was in the distance.
駒はふんだんに用意したぞ。備えも心構えも十分だ。さあ、アンティを支払おうではないか。そなたに授けられ、最後にはそなたに全て返すべきものだ。さあ、受け取れい。
Kinzo flung the window of his study open wide, took off the valuable golden ring that had been on his finger, and threw it into the darkness of the raging wind and rain. Moving around made the scene all the better. I'm glad! That's that's what I wanted. The ring was struck by lightning, and after twinkling gold for an instant disappeared. Kinzo watched it go, grinning broadly and fearlessly. So far, the impression I get from this chapter so far is that this feels more like chapter 2 was very different so far, even from the prologue and everything. But chapter 3 feels almost a little bit more closer to chapter 1, like the mystery in there. I don't assume this is an answer arc or anything, but I just find the setup interesting. The ring that Kinzo had thrown became a single gold butterfly and fluttered around in the wind and rain. It headed for the rose garden, almost as though it was being guided there. It then found the figure of the golden witch and fluttered down. When it came down right in front of Beatrice, it burst open and returned to its original form, flying through the air. The way it was going, you would have expected it to fall into a puddle, but it stopped suddenly midair, almost as if some transparent person had caught it. Apparently even Beatrice hadn't expected this. However, she realized who it was, and grinned broadly at it. Is it Lambda? What? Whomst you? Who are you? He's got the drip, and he kinda... I hate to say this. Oh wait, actually, I don't hate to say this. He looks like my boyfriend. Ryukishi? Did you put my boyfriend in the game? As she did, the shadow of the person had caught the ring began to fuzzily appear. It was the figure of a young man wearing a butler's uniform, embroidered with the one-winged eagle crest. There was no man like this among the servants of the Ushiromiya family. Even so, Beatrice laughed as though it was someone she remembered fondly. Okay. I mean, he does look pretty good. Yeah, I mean, he does. It has been quiet for some time for you. Jesus fuck. Ronovoe, okay. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna ask my boyfriend if he can cosplay Ronovoe and Beatrice someday. With an exaggerated yet elegant gesture, he bowed respectfully and held out Beatrice the head's ring that he'd just caught. Oh, so he was the lightning. Look at his face! Even his expressions are like that of my boyfriend, Jesus. Couple goals showing cosplay. Yeah, it would be pretty cool actually. Though I would probably wear Beatrice. Okay, actually this dress would look better on me. To be honest, it's more my thing. Because I was just thinking maybe I would wear the other outfit. But I think this suits me better. With a lot of murder and knives.
まずは紅茶をご用意いたしましょう。
Milady, what should I do first? Murder or tea? Frankly, how about both?
とりあえずそなたの挨拶が必要であろうな。あやつめ、開いた口が塞が
If
ら
the
ぬと
dress
いうような
fits.
顔をしている
There's a
に違いない
saying which is like if the shoe fits, but I think it's the same. If the dress fits, I wear. I wear.
なあ、バトラー。
はじめまして、自己紹介をいたします。ベアトリーチェお嬢様のおそばにてお使いしております。
Okay.
ロノウエと申します。
So this is a new servant.
よろしくお願い申し上げますよ。
I like this. He's a servant who has a little bit of sass to Beatrice.
ほらな、開いた口が塞がらないという顔であろう。
当たり前だろ。またこんなわけのわかんないやつが出てきやがった。ヤギ頭が盆踊りを始めるのかとぼやいたら、ヤギ頭がうようよ現れて太もも姉ちゃんたちが7人も出てきて、その上
Seven assness. 7 ass. The way he says it gets me.
わけわかんねえよ。もういい加減にしやがれよ。
7 ass Nessans and a butler, if you catch my drift.
ところでバトラー、気づいていたか？こやつとそなたの対面だが、これが本当の悪魔の証明であることを気づいたかな？
Okay, you're gonna have to explain this to me.
悪魔の証明だとはどういう意味だよ。
こやつはこう見えても72柱に名を連ねる生粋の悪魔でな。
One of the 72 and a genuine demon.
つまり
Okay.
わらわは悪魔を直接連れてきて、
A
まさに
bat.
その存在を証
That
明
too.
してみせたわけだ。
He is indeed a battler.
ロノウェは地獄に爵位を持つ序列27位の大悪魔よ。
Only the 27th.
なか
Okay.
なかに使える男でな。高級で召し上げてわらわの世話をさせておるのだ。
Okay.
ご紹介いただけまして光栄
What does he
です。
do?
地獄の貴族に名を連ねと、今は卑しい人間の分際で悪魔も裸足で逃げ出すような大魔女であられるベアトリーチェ様の家具柱として使える身ですよ。
Yeah, he's a demon, alright. Indeed. I mean, we had all the stakes before, and then they were all cute girls.
実に使える男なのだが、何しろ口のヘラのやつでな。
He looks, he looks suave. I agree. Oh, his voice actor is Sugita? I can't believe it. Oh
主
god.
への敬いを忘れるのがたまに傷よ。
Can't believe my boyfriend's voice actor is Sugita.
言葉遣いに関しましては契約書から漏れておりましたもので、そのように契約を変更いたしますか？
わらわも退屈せぬからそれでいい。
I enjoyed that he has the sass. Beatrice turned her back to him, cackling. After bowing once to her back, Ronove turned back to Batter and stuck out his right hand, showing off an innocent smile. Bronove is the best boy! Normally this would mean that he was asking for a handshake.
何のあれだよ。
With his sprite, he looks like he's ready to chop you on the neck.
私もお嬢様のわがままに振り回されている身です。その意味では私たちは良き友人になれるかと思いますよ。これは友情の握手です。もちろん悪魔の契約の締結を意味するものではありませんのでご安心を。
ニョフィニョフィ
悪いが、
あぱっニョ
俺はあんたの主と大喧嘩の真っ最中でね。 俺が敵と握手をするの
I'm
は
trying to get my cat to come
雨の
over.
校庭でぶちのめし合って互いがボロボロになってかわせ青春ドラマみたいなシチュエーションの時だけさ。覚えておきな。
なるほど。バトラ様と握手を交わすには十分な雰囲気作りとふさわしい場、そして心に響く甘い言葉と肉体言語の交わし合いが必要ということですね。
I too am a sucker for butlers with attitude, Kumabaru. It's just the best taste.
機会を見てその場を準備いたしましょう。
What, on top of a corpse?
私めもそういうシチュエーションは大好きでございます。
Sounds like the kitty is a fan of Runover too, but she's looking at me with the oh wait, she's not even looking at me. She has her back turned to me and to Runover, looking with the don't talk me, I'm angry pose. Oh, he has a nice laugh too. As Runover laughed tauntingly, he whispered to Battler, bringing his face so close that their noses were almost touching. And now kiss. Battler, his face turning red after getting so close to another of the same sex, pushed him away.
気色悪い野郎だぜ。なるほど。ベアとの執事にぴったりのやつだ。
お褒めの言葉を賜りまして、私は紅茶には自信がございますので、ティータイムを楽しみにしていらしてくださいね。クッキーを焼くのが趣味でございますので、お茶菓子にもこうご期待をお願いいたします。
Oh yes, snacks for while we're committing murders.
さすがは同性同士だな。打ち解け合うのが実に早い。
I mean, that's not always the case.
焼けるぞ。
これはお嬢様に嫉妬させてしまい申し訳ございませんでした。お嬢様のお客人をこっそりつまみ食いなどいたしませんよ。それではこれより他の家具どもに再び家具頭に着任いたしましたことを挨拶してまいります。しばしの暇をお許しください。
権限しているのは雑用のヤギどもと儀式役の七姉妹だけだ。挨拶も楽に終わろう。
おや、あの賑やかな七姉妹たちですか。
He's gonna have a time with them.
少しはおしとやかに成長したでしょうか。
あれがおしとやかだってんなら、俺はおしとやかの定義を疑うぜ。
そうでございますか。
I kind of want to see his full outfit. There he is. He has the drip! What is this? Oh my god!
七姉妹どもとはもうお遊びになられたようですね。その表情から察するに、どうやら相変わらずのやんちゃぶりのようだ。ベアトリーチェ様にお仕えするにふさわしい振る舞いをするようにといつも言っているのに、困った子たちだ。
その意味でなら安心しろよ。実に主にぴったりなふさわしい振る舞いだぜ。
そなたも言うようになったな。しかし会話は相手を認めるということだ。わらわとの雑談に応じるようになったということは、そなたがわらわの存在を徐々に認め始めている証拠。
Actually, that's not a bad point.
たとえお天道様が西から昇ることがあろうとも、絶対の絶対絶対泣いて俺の靴にキスしたら、もうちょい前向きに検討してやってもいいぜ。
Even if Battler was bluffing, he still spoke forcefully, a fearless expression on his face. The witch and her butler snickered together, realizing that their guest had regained more than enough of his willpower to attend to a new game, and that preparations were complete. After Ronovoy exchanged a few words with Beatrice, he bowed silently to Battler, scattered into several gold butterflies, and disappeared. And there he goes.
賑やかになるのは実に嬉しいことだ。
Yes.
この
I
島に
I too am
たった一人
amused.
閉じ込められ、己の力を取り戻せず、誰に話しかけることもできなかった日々のなんと退屈だった。
Man, I can't imagine how boring that was.
あの気持ち悪いやつがお前に似合いの執事だってことはよくわかった。だが教えろ、その執事がなぜ今頃になって現れた。権限しているのはヤギと七食いの姉ちゃんたちとかなんとか言ったな。どういう意味だ。
うん、そなたは抗っておるが、わらわはれっきとした魔女だ。魔界
She has all the
人なら
power.
ざるあまたの存在と交流を持っておる。
だろうな。お前の関係にはろくな連中がいねえぜ。ヤギの化け物に太もも姉ちゃんに。
Ass name. Jesus, he was going to stick to that nickname. Oh no.
まさかとは思うが、この調子でまだおかしな連中が増えるってんじゃねえだろうな。
わらわの荘厳なる黄金館に仕える家具どもと、そこへ遊びに来る悪魔たちがどれほどいると思っているのか。まだまだ訪れるぞ。いくらでも現れるぞ。黄金鏡の扉を開き、すべての家具たちを呼び戻し、わらわはこの六軒島に新たなる城を建てるのだ。
It is time.
そして懐かしき友人たちすべてを招き、三日三晩を飲み明かし、踊り明かしてやるつもりよ。
Oh, that's the thing Maria mentioned in the previous chapter.
無論金蔵の一族たちも招くつもりでいるぞ。望めばそなたもな。
つまりこういうことか。お前は長いこと力を失っていたため、そいつらを呼び出せなかったと。それで徐々に魔力が回復してきたため、そう言いたいわけか。
Sounds like it.
そういうことだ。そなたは最後の一戦でこそギリギリ踏みとどまっているが、その心はすでにぐらつき、わらわが魔女であることを否定できずにいる。その心のぐらつきがわらわの魔女としての力を少しずつ蘇らせているのだ。
あの気色悪い執事が現れたのは俺が屈しかけているからだというのかよ。
Seems like it.
そうだ。前回のゲームではあれほどの屈辱を受けてまでわらわに屈服したではないか。
Yes.
そなたの背中はわらわの足を投げ出すには本当に良いものだったぞ。
ちくしょう。俺はお前を認めさえしなければ現状は維持できると思っていた。だがそれはどうやら誤解だったらしいな。
So what's your approach
そうだ。
now?
そなたが屈服に近づけば近づくほどゲームはわらわに有利に傾いていく。チェスだってそうであろう。互いのキングを詰め合う過程でわらわたちは様々な駒を取り合っている。確かにわらわは未だそなたのキングを追い詰めてはおらぬ。しかしそなたはキングを逃すのに精一杯でいくつもの大駒を失い、後の展開がわらわに有利に傾くのは当然のことよ。
That is also true.
そなたはおそらくこれからも死に物狂いでわらわのチェックメイトだけからは逃れるだろう。やがてはキング以外の全てを失い、どのような形でも逃れることのかなわぬ本当のチェックメイトを受けることになろう。前回そなたは気焰を吐いたな。
Points at Beatrice. Damn! Yeah, that's the battle removed the entire
わ
game.
らわを永遠に認めぬ以上、これはわらわ
If
を
it's not that, he's
苛む
crying.
永遠の拷問だなどと。永遠を語るのは無限の域に達した魔女だけよ。 そなたにその資格など初めからないわ。
Well, let's go! Game 3 begin!
黄金の隠し場所については、すでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されており
It's
ま
time to
す。
scramble for the gold, isn't it?
条件は、碑文を読むことができるものすべてに公平に。黄金を暴けたなら、私はすべてをお返しするでしょう。それではどうか今宵を、金蔵様との知恵比べにて、存分にお楽しみくださいませ。今宵が知的かつ優雅な夜になるよう、心よりお祈りいたしております。黄金のベアトリーチェ。
When Maria finished reading the letter that Beatrice had handed her, everyone was at a loss of words for a while, and they all broke the silence at once.
バカバカしい、取るに足らない悪質ないたずらです。
まったくだ。親父殿が当主の指輪を手放すなど、ベアトリチェ。その名を語れば右往左往するだろうという見えすぎたいたずらだ。
おいおい、このちょいとパンチの効きすぎたデザートを仕込んだのは誰なんだ？今なら喝采で褒めてやるから正直に白状しろよ。
Okay, so we're gonna have a game board in which Beatrice isn't here personally yet. Okay.
とんでもない。お父様の名を語るいたずらなんてしません。
じゃあ姉貴か？兄貴か？
私？バカ言ってんじゃないわよ。兄さんでしょ？こういう悪趣味な仕掛けは。
愚弄する気か？
Yes.
私こそお前たちに問いたい。このたちの悪いいたずらは誰の仕業なんだ？
Kraus beat the table and stared at everyone. Since that included the children too, he scared most of them.
お父様から財産の全権を任せられたと称する謎の人物からの手紙、そして今日がそれを話し合うための親族会議であることを考えると、いたずらだと決めつけるのも早計だと思うわ。
わからんで。まさにお父さんの悪趣味ないたずらかもしれん。
Stop. Iki. You can't have the milk rise.
自分抜きで遺産分配の話をまとめようとしているわしらをちょいと驚かせたくて仕組んだことかもしれん。
聞いて。
こいつを仕組んだのが親父だってんだ。今マリアちゃんが読み上げた内容は冗談ってわけにはならねえぜ。
ロフィー。
そうね。
Now she's staring at the screen too.
文面通りに解釈するなら、これはお父様からのテストね。魔女の碑文は私たち誰にでも解けるようにずっと広間に掲示されていた。告示期間は十分。最初に解けた人間に家督と全ての財産を渡すと、そう言っているわけよね。
ほら、私たちの魔法叶ったわ。
Oh.
そんなバカな話はありません。
Also, little Eva is also taking an appearance in this, okay?
後宮家の次期当主が夫であることは何ら揺るがない事実です。それを揺るがすのがこの手紙じゃない。この手紙はお父様に財産の全てを全権委任。もはや兄さんの当主継承権は白紙に戻ったわ。魔女の碑文を解いた者が、ベアトリーチェの黄金を見つけた者が後宮家の次の当主になるのよ。
バカバカしい。その手紙のざれ言を信用するのかい？
Yes.
その風浪が本物だとでも信用などできるものか？
ならお父様に直接話を聞いてみましょうよ。もう機嫌が悪いからとか体調が悪いとかそんな次元じゃないわよ。この手紙は お父様の代理人であることを風浪でちゃんと示してる。それを疑うなら兄さんが証明しなさいよ。この手紙がお父様の意志のものではないって。
よかろう。お前の言う通りだ。もう親父の機嫌不機嫌の問題ではない。
Oh, are we gonna
上
see
へ
him?
行き直接問いただそうじゃないか。
Let's try it.
そうしようぜ。親父に直接聞こう。親父も親父だぜ。どうしてこんな回りくどい真似を。まあ、そこが親父らしいんだがな。
That's true.
お父様の手紙だということを前提に話を続けてもいいのかしら。
バカローザ
Oh, damn.
お父様の手紙に決まってんでしょ。あの手紙はお父様のなのよ。次期当主を私たち4人の中から選ぶための公平なチャンスに決まってるじゃない。バカ死ね、この役立たず。
Damn, Jesus.
ほんとローザって頭悪いわ。へそでも噛んで死んじゃえば。
I mean, no wonder Rosa became the way she is.
ごめんなさい。そうよね。ごめんなさい。
In the beginning, the adults had all doubted the credibility of the letter, but after realizing that this was once-in-a-lifetime chance in the inheritance struggle for the 3 younger siblings, Eva changed her position, claiming that the letter was authentic. Rudolph and Rosa caught on and agreed.
まったく、そんなくだらないいたずらを大の大人がこれほどまで真に受けるとは。お父様でなくても呆れたい気持ちよくわかります。
Oh, damn.
夏日さん、それはお父さんに聞けば済む話やないか。お父さんがその手紙は知らんって一言言ってくれれば済む話やで。
兄さん、責任を持ってその手紙は知らないという一言を引き出すのよ。機嫌が悪そうだからってビビってる場合じゃないんだからね。
いい年してお父様が怖いなんてバカみたい。
I think all of them are.
へそ噛んで死んじゃえば。
おう、はっきり白黒をつけようじゃないか。今頃は書斎で食事中だろう。一度箸を休めてもらおうじゃないか。
決まりだな。行こう。キリエはちょっと待っててくれ。真偽を確かめてすぐ戻る。
ありがとう。ゴーダさんがデザートを持ってくるのをのんびり待ってるわ。
Okay. The others will just have dessert. The 4 siblings not see Hideyoshi all rose from their seats forcefully and flew out into the hallway with a clatter. Afterwards, only the children stand completely speechless. Nanja, who looked uncomfortable, and Kiria, who just shrugged, were left. Kiria's like, I don't give a shit. I just want the money. In the middle of all this was Maria, who looked a little scared at the adult's sudden change. However, judging from her appearance, she didn't look like she realized the full meaning of what she's just read.
一体何事だってんだよ。
It was rich people going feral.
わけわかんねえぜ。
どいつもこいつもクソったれだ。そんな兄さんが欲しいかよ。
みんな、これは親たちの問題なんだ。僕たちには関係ない。だから気にしちゃダメだ。
そうは言ってもよ。ああもあからさまに。
見損なったぜ。欲の皮が突っ張ってやがる。
みんなで幸せになるって信じ合わないとダメ。
We're doing our best.
そうだね。僕たちはみんなで約束したもんね。ほら、バトラ君もジェシカちゃんも。
最悪の気分だぜ。
all the kids are like, can't we disown our parents? We couldn't accept it all, but we laid down our arms for the time being. We'd been vaguely aware of how filthy this family conference was going to be. However, after that 6-year blank, I couldn't help being shocked. When he saw that the children were completely dejected, Dr. Nanjo cleared his throat uncomfortably.
大人の話です。 お若い皆さんとは関係のないことですよ。
That doesn't help much,
忘
sir.
れてしまいましょう。
それができりゃやってるぜ。
辛いのはわかるわ。でも今は忘れてあげて。あなたたちの将来を少しでも豊かにするため、みんなの両親は必死で戦ってるのよ。そしてやがて傷つき帰ってくるお父さんたちをどうかそんな冷たい目で迎えないであげて。
いくらキリエさんの頼みでもそれは難しいぜ。
That, yeah.
そう割り切れるなら子供なんてやってねえぜ。
うわー、みんな幸せ。暗くなるのダメ。信じて。みんなで幸せになれるって信じないと幸せが逃げちゃう。
Yes, you must
みんなで
believe.
信じないとダメなの。
Believe in the power of love and friendship.
私も信じるわ。私たちは幸せになれるわよ。
キリエおばさん、ありがとう。パトラとジェシカお姉ちゃんも信じて。ベアトリーチェも信じないと魔法が力を持たないっていつも言ってる。
Kitty arose from her seat quietly, went over to Mari and crouched down so that her eyes met.
キリエおばさんが信じてくれた。あとバトラとジェシカお姉ちゃんが信じないとダメ。
二人とも強いもの。すぐに元気になってそうしてくれるわよ。それより教えてほしいの。
Kirie sounds like a fun mom. When Kirie-san said that, Jessica, George, Aniki, George, Dr. Nanja and I all listened closely. Looked like our parents were so concerned with the inheritance problem that grandfather filled their minds. But we wanted to ask Mari about something simpler.
何？
マリアちゃんにその手紙を渡したのって誰？
ベアトリーチェ。
肖像画に書かれている魔女の？
パサと一緒にこの手紙もくれたの。そしてね、マリアのバラが折れちゃってたのを魔法で直してくれたの。ベアトリーチェは何でもできるすごい魔女なの。
詳しく聞かせてくれるかしら。
Okay. The way she just asked calmly and then was like, but that doesn't tell me anything. Who is Beatrice for like 50 times? Poor girl. Without even being allowed to wait for dessert, we were chased out of the room. I heard that, in the end, our parents were unable to get grandfather to respond. Well, I hate to say it, but I feel like giving grandfather a high five right now. He was probably pretty satisfied with how his strange letter had given his children a good shock, since they'd all been so infatuated with the inheritance problem with grandfather was still alive. I also felt like our despicable parents had gotten what they deserved in all of this conclusion. But I couldn't really say that I was feeling great. I felt all sulky. Apparently, grandfather hadn't seemed concerned with the whole thing, but he also hadn't denied anything about the letter either. Well, thanks, man. When talking about the witch's letter, grandfather's name kept popping up. If grandfather knew that someone was stealing his name, then considering his character, he'd probably be mad with rage. But even though grandfather now knew the contents of that letter, he coldly ignored it. So did that count as a silent yes? Aunt Eva and Dad were trying to interpret the letter in their favor, their greed clearly visible. It wouldn't have mattered so much if it was that was all, but the adults had now started focusing on Maria, who had received the letter. They kept pounding her with questions about who had given it to her. Oh no, it's happening again. Maria repeated over and over that she had gotten it from Beatrice, but there was no way such a mysterious person could have been sneaked onto the island. After all, this island's small, and there's no one living on it outside the Oshinomiya family household. Maria kept repeating that she'd gotten it from Beatrice, no matter how many times she was asked. They don't seem to think she was trying to trick them, so they didn't hold back and questioned her until she broke out in tears. When Maria was released, she sobbed all worn out from crying. After our parents ordered us to go to the guest house and take Maria with us. They shut themselves up in the dining hall and started getting louder and louder as they discussed the inheritance. It seemed that, because of the strange letter, Uncle Klaus's chances of becoming the next head might have been reduced to a blank slate, and in exchange for accepting him, my dad and the rest were trying to swindle Uncle Kraus out of a lot of money, or something like that. It's revenge, I guess. Discussed it as we were, Jessica and I were happy to move over to the guest house. We didn't want to be under the same roof as those filthy adults, their heads so filled with thoughts about money. Judge Eineke pleaded on our parents' behalf, saying that he wanted us to understand them. I understood his reasoning. No matter how filthy this talk of money was, it won't go away if you just close your eyes to it. But even so, how could they sink so low as to overtly fight over the money of the dead? Well, there's more than just the money, as it turns out. At least in Eva's case. Maria had cried herself dry and was hiding in her bed. Aww. I've never been quite sure, but how big is the island? Big enough to hide on without being noticed? I think so, with the forest and all. She hadn't even twitched for a while, but so she was probably sleeping.
Maria-chan は一体誰にあの手紙をもらったんだろうね。
ジョージ兄さん、それはもう聞いちゃダメだぜ。マリアがベアトリーチェにもらったって言うなら、それでいいじゃねえかよ。
Yes.
これ以上マリアを泣かせたくないしな。
Even though we said that, we couldn't clear away a gloomy feeling.
この島には今18人しかいないんだよ。そこにこの雨の中、未知の19人目がマリアちゃんに手紙を託して今もどこかに隠れているというのは正直現実的ではないね。
おそらくあの肖像画のドレスをシャノンあたりにでも着てもらってうまくマリアと口裏を合わせたってことじゃねえのかな。もっともマリアの場合、あのドレスを見たらそれだけでベアトリーチェだと信じちまいそうだけどな。
誰が渡したかなんてどうでもいい問題かもしれないな。大事なのは差出人だろう。要はじい様が黄金の魔女の名を語って一波乱を起こしたかったってことなんだぜ。
That's possible, yes.
人騒がせなじじいだぜ。
The most likely answer is that our occult-loving grandfather was playing around, handing the letter over to Maria, who shares the same hobby as he does, in such a dramatic way. Though he failed to give any thought of for what Maria would have to go through, making it a pretty shitty thing to do.
たく、マリアの純真な心をもてあそびやがって。手紙を渡したのが誰でもいいさ。マリアがベアトリーチェにもらったって言うんだから、そういうことにしてやろうぜ。
同感だよ。そうしよう。子供にとってのサンタクロースみたいな存在が、マリアちゃんにとってはベアトリーチェなんだろうね。
That is true.
いない19人目もサンタクロースも俺たちが認めてやれば、それは少なくともマリアの中ではいるということになるわけだ。なるほど。子供の夢を守るための嘘って大事だな。お。
Yes, my cat is back.
どうしたんだよ、ジェシカ。まだ腹を立ててるのかよ。
Yofi, up up. Jessica had her hand on her chin, as though there was something that she couldn't understand. When I called out to her, she came to her senses.
ああ、ごめん。
I haven't seen Canon this whole time. I'm worried. Now I want to see him dressed up like Beata's dress. Yes, me too.
いやさ、マリアが会ったのは本当にベアトリーチェだったってことがあるんじゃないかな。
そりゃどういう意味だよ。この島に19人目の人間がいるって言いたいのか？
マリアちゃんの言うことを心から信じたなら、そういう答えに行き着くだろうね。
いや、そういうのじゃなくて、昔からこの島には私たちの知らない誰かが住んでるんじゃないかって話はあったんだよな。
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna talk about Beatrice again.
どこに？
森の中にさ。
Yep, it's the witch living in the woods story again. The adults were gathered in the dining hall, spending a very long time continuing the discussion that had been started by Beatrice's letter. Klaus strongly claimed that the letter was a simple prank, but he couldn't overturn the claim that Kinzo's failure to deny the letter was answer enough. Judging by Kinzo's character, if he knew that the letter had been written in his name, he would be mad with rage. Since all his siblings knew that, Klaus had no choice but to withdraw his claim. Whoop! Without even having to summarize it, the content of the letters were simple. The person who could solve the witch's epitaph would receive the headship and assets. This did a lot of damage to Cross, who had been sure that he would receive the headship, and was better news than the rest of them, who had already given up, could have hoped for. However, there were some points that worried them. The person who solved the epitaph was not limited to a member of the Ushiromiya family. Taken literally, anyone, no matter how doubtful of their origin, might receive the headship. And furthermore, this meant that there was a chance that all the Ushiromiya family assets would be stolen by some unknown person. In that sense, it was definitely not a situation where even the other siblings could afford to lower the guards. Had this letter come from an assassin sent by Kinzo calling themselves Beatrice? Or was this a scheme of some unknown person trying to steal the Ushiromiya family's wealth? They still didn't know the truth, but they could say one thing for certain. Maria had received this problematic letter today on this island. In other words, someone planning something to do with that letter was in this island today. Had it been set up by Kinzo, one of the 4 siblings, or maybe some unknown person? No matter how much they suspected each other, they couldn't reach a conclusion. After getting tired of bickering with each other, they finally reached an extremely obvious conclusion that doubting each other was just a waste of time. Oh boy. Then I wonder if this chapter they're actually going to try to solve the epitaph finally.
そうね。兄さんが気づいてくれるだけでこれ以上を浪費しなくて済むわ。手紙の差出人がお父様と確定したわけではありませんよ。会話の成り立たないあなたに主人が呆れ果てただけです。
Jeez.
会話が成り立たないのはどっちよ。私が何か言うたびにあなたは怒鳴ってばかり。そんな無様で後ろ宮家にふさわしいと本気でお思いなのかしら。
予算かエヴァ。夏井さんも一度終わった話やで。
一度ここで頭を冷やさない？冷たいものでも持ってきてもらいましょうよ。
そうね。頭を冷やした方が賢明そう。あなたもそろそろ一服したくなってきたんじゃない？
姉貴の機嫌が悪そうだからな。一服の方は遠慮するぜ。
Yes.
だが冷たい方は賛成だ。ローザ、誰かに水を持ってこさせてくれ。水差しごとね。
うん、わかったわ。
Rosa headed over to extension telephone in the corner of the room and called the servant room. She then passed on what Rudolph had told her to the person on the other end. The vicious bickering up until now vanished as though it had been a lie. That silence continued until Golda finished setting the table and retreated from the room.
他に何かご入り用のものはございますでしょうか？
ありません。もう下がりなさい。
はい、それでは失礼いたします。何かございましたらいつでもお呼びください。
And he goes. After listening to the sound of Golda's footsteps disappear off into the distance, everyone took a deep breath at the same time to break the tension.
本当にすごい雨ね。19人目の魔女は今頃バラ庭園の東屋で雨宿りでもしているのかしら。
Whoever the hell they may be.
雨はしのげるかもしれないけど、少し肩を冷やしそうね。
謎の19人目の来訪者か。ちょいと推理小説っぽくて面白い話やな。 普通この手の話は18人の中の誰かが語ってるだけで、実際には存在せんと相場が決まっとるんや。
私は源氏たちが怪しいと睨んでいます。
The servants, okay?
やはりどんな難癖をつけてでも片翼のわしの使用人たちは全て解雇した方が良かったんです。
まあそういうな。長く勤めてくれた恩もある。もちろん気は許せんがね。
兄さんもお父様の仕業かどうかはともかく、あの手紙をマリアちゃんに渡したのは使用人の誰かだろうという点では同意するのね。
That's actually something I can imagine, actually.
何しろ私たちは夕食までずっと仲良く団らんをしていたじゃないか。兄弟全員にアリバイがある。マリアに手紙を渡せたのは使用人の誰かだけだ。
I wonder if it was a servant then.
ベッドメイクとかで忙しくてバラ庭園のマリアのところへ行く余裕なんかなかったって言ってたし。
おいおい、じゃあ何だってんだよ。まさか森の魔女ベアトリーチェ様がお越しになって本当にマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したって言い出すのか？
Probably not. At least not literally.
ローザ、昔は信じててすごい怖がってたものね。あんたまさかいい年してまだ信じてるの？
Damn.
森の魔女。
If she did exist, I'd love for her to appear. But no matter how much I wish, she didn't appear before me even once. She didn't save me from my crisis.
まさか。でも18人全員が自分は違うと言っている以上、本当に19人目がいるのかもって思っただけなの。
そんなんあらへんで。第一、船で来たのはわしらだけや。謎の乗船者なんぞわしらは姿も見とらん。まさかこの荒海を泳いで渡ってきたっちゅうんか？ちょいと考えられへんな。
Just imagine some person jumping into the seawater like, I'm gonna swim to Rokkenjima now, I'm gonna steal the money.
理屈ではそうね。この隔絶された島に招かれていない客が一人隠れているというのは常識的にでもどうもその可能性を捨てきれない人たちがいるみたいね。
That's true. I wonder what their solution will be. Yoshi had laughed it off, saying there couldn't be a 19th person, but Kei had sensitively picked up on the dialect atmosphere among the siblings. In a normal situation, there shouldn't have been an uninvited guest on the small, isolated island. How would they have come here? From where, and where were they hiding? And why hadn't they appeared openly even though they had sent a letter in their name? Nothing could explain that. But not only had the four siblings not joined in on Hideyoshi's laughing, they also seemed unable to completely deny in their hearts the possibility of a 19th person.
キリエさん、誤解しないでいただきたいが、別に私たちはおとぎ話じみた魔女伝説などこればかり。
またお父様を侮辱する話ですか？それを口にすること自体がお父様への裏切りです。
That's also a thing, right?
まあね。でもあのお父様ですもの。
Oh, this reminds me, we didn't see the conversation between the adults, like, about the letter in chapter 1, so I think I wonder if this is like a way to give a hint how that went.
私は何も知らないわ。
なんやなんや。何を見学になっとるんや。どういうことや。つまり魔女伝説は笑い話でも何でもなく事実だっちゅうんか？そんなアホな。
もちろんほうきにまたがって空を飛ぶ魔女なんて誰も信じちゃいないさ。
Yes, Beatrice coming in with a broom.
ベアトリーチェは本当にこの島に存在したかもしれない。
秀吉さん、 魔女とかの話じゃなくて、もっとシンプルな話みたいよ。
Okay.
つまりこういうことね。ベアトリーチェという名の愛人をお父さんがこの島のどこかに隠れ住まわせていたのではないかと。
Okay, so we're going to
みんな
touch
は
upon
疑
the
っている。
mistress story again.
そういうことかしら。
お父様は自己を厳しく律する模範的な方です。そのような汚らわしい存在を島に連れ込むなど到底考えられません。
I don't know. Nazi snapped at them immediately, but it looked like the four siblings, including Kraus, didn't agree. On the contrary, they appeared to think Kinzo wouldn't even have hesitated to do something like that. From the beginning, it had been whispered that Kinzo had built a mansion on this island specifically because of the existence of an entrancing mistress. Oh.
親父を尊敬してる夏日さんには悪いが、だいぶ昔からそういう噂はあったんだよ。親父は自分一人でこの六軒島の設備すべてを作り上げた。屋敷の中には
Damn, he built
親父
literally
しかわからな
everything?
い仕掛けや隠し部屋なんかがあるんじゃないかって初めから疑われてたし、俺たちの知らない秘密の屋敷がこの島のどこかに隠されてるんじゃないかともずっとささやかれてた。
Okay.
そうね。地図上は小さな島かもしれないけれど、後宮家だけが住むには広大すぎる島だわ。そして未開の森のどこかに愛人を住まわせるための隠し屋敷を作ったかもしれないと、そう思われてたのね。ずいぶんスケールの大きな話ね。
最初はそれはこの屋敷の中じゃないかと言われてた。
Alright.
秘密の地下とかがあったりして、そこに豪華な隠し部屋があり、あの肖像画の魔女が隠れ住んでるんじゃないかとかね。
Oh, you mean like the VIP room?
親父の書斎の凝ったオートロックの仕掛けとかを見てると、それも納得できる。
何しろ莫大な黄金をどこか秘密の場所に秘密の仕掛けで隠したと吹聴する親父殿だ。この屋敷とてまだ我々の知らぬ隠し部屋があったとしても驚くには足りんね。
That I would be surprised about too, especially because of the cathedral.
よくお父様の不在をついて屋敷内をしらみつぶしに探し回ってたわね。ルドルフが言ったことをお母様も疑ってたのよ。どこかに秘密の扉や階段があって、その中に金髪の愛人が隠れていると信じていたわ。
It's hard to believe, but there are some actual examples in other countries of people cheating with someone over a period of several decades by making them live in a hidden attic room. Furthermore, Kinzo had a mansion this extravagant. It was possible to suspect the existence of a hidden room. Okay.
六軒島の魔女伝説って私の聞いてた話では、子供たちが未開の森に入り込まないようにって言って作った怖がらせるためのおとぎ話だったんだけど、なんだかそれだけじゃないって気がしてきたわ。
Luffy, stop. Luffy, stop. Don't meow at
何し
me.
ろ後宮の屋敷以外に何もない寂しい島。俺やローザがガキの頃は、そりゃ雷雨の夜に森から聞こえてくる木々のざわめきに怯え、その木々の間から不気味な何かが様子を伺ってるんじゃないかなんて妄想。
Beatrice is
ガキだ
watching.
ったら誰でも考える自然なものさ。だが俺やローザがそう訴えるのを聞いて、ガキの妄想だろでは済まさない連中もいたってことなんだろうね。そうだろ姉貴。
ええ。も
Okay.
ちろんお母様もね。
古い使用人たちの中にも深夜の屋敷内に肖像画の魔女が徘徊しているというような
It's probably the mistress coming over to Kinzo.
私はそれを表向き怪談として笑い捨てていたが、内心は秘密の愛人の存在を十分に疑っていたよ。
となると、この島に19人目の何者かがいるかもしれないってのは全くバカバカしい話でもないっちゅうことなんか。いや、むしろどこかにいるかもしれないわけか。
Maybe.
よくルドルフさんの言う悪魔の証明というやつになったわね。19人目がいることは証明可能だけれど、19人目が存在しないことは証明不能。 私たちはベアトリーチェという名の人物が島のどこかに潜んでいることを前提に議論を進めるべきなの？
I guess.
危機
It
管理
would
の
be
基
a
本と
nice
しては正
mystery
しい
to go into in this chapter.
いるわけがないと思うよりはいるかもしれないと用心する方がはるかにマシだろうよ。
そうやな。すまん。ちょいと不用心が過ぎたわ。ローザさん、さっきは笑ってすまんかったな。
別に気にしてないです。
Hideyoshi apologized deeply for taking the worst case scenario lightly despite calling himself the president of a company. Silence fell again. Preparing for the existence of a 19th person would mean in effect acknowledging the presence of some unknown person hidden on this island. And since this person might be planning something shady, it was only natural that the conversation would turn into an obvious direction.
親父殿はかつて不意に所在を知らせずに姿を消すことがあった。何しろ静寂を好むお人だからな。わざと所在を知らせずどこかの書庫に閉じこもっているなどということは別に不思議なことではなかったよ。しかし魔女伝説が愛人説にすり替わり、やがてそれはこっそり愛人のもとへ通っているのではないかと囁かれるようになった。
末期のおふくろは疑心暗鬼の塊だったからね。
Oh man.
あったわね。晩年のお母様はそんなことばかりだったから未だにその怖い雰囲気が拭えないわ。
I wonder if they'll ever show the mom in a
今だから
flashback.
言える。かわいそうな人だったわ。
それでその大々的な矢探しの結果どうだったんや。何か見つかったか？
いいえ、隠し部屋はおろか一度たりともお父様が発見されたことはないわ。そしていつもそれからだいぶ時間が経ってからひょっこりとどこからか姿を現すの。どこかの書庫で昼寝していたとか、風に誘われて浜辺を散歩していたとかなんとか言ってね。でも
Sounds kinda sus.
それらの場所はいずれも使用人たちが必ず探している場所。お父様がどこに行っていたのかはいつもわからなかった。当時からお父様はオカルトに傾倒していることが有名だったから、一部の使用人たちは蝶にでも化けてバラ庭園を待っていたのだろうなんて嘘吹いていたっけ。
Also like Beatrice, I see.
つまりお父さんは誰も知らないどこかへ姿を消すことが頻繁にあったのね。
ああ、どんなに屋敷中を探しても見つからないんだから、親父は屋敷の外へ行っているのだろうという見解になった。だが屋敷の外ったってそれほど大した場所はない。となると残るのは広大な森だ。それで森の魔女伝説と融合してできた仮説はこうだった。親父は実は森のどこかに隠し屋敷を作っていて、そこにベアトリーチェという名の愛人を住まわせていて、時折通っているんじゃないかってわけだ。
I feel bad that there isn't much for me to comment, but if I recall, every time the adults have a lengthy conversation, all I can do mostly is listen.
私も当時は若くてね、親父殿の浮気の現場を抑えてやろうと意気込み、表へ出る親父の後をつけようとしたこともある。
Oh, does he go to the cathedral? I wonder.
もちろん失敗したよ。親父は表へ出るとき異様に人目を嫌い、誰かに見られてないか警戒していた。それこそ異常なくらいにね。だから逆に確信したよ。家人に知られてはならぬ理由で出かけているに違いないとね。
Adults and their serious business. Bah! Pretty much, it's just that there isn't much I can add to the conversation.
愛人のところへ出かけるんや。人目も忍ぶやろな。
After seeing Hideyoshi nod and say yes, yes, as though this was quite obvious, everyone got a little sullen.
まあとにかく西洋かぶれのお父様が 自分の夢をまるでスケッチブックに描くみたいに実現したのがこの島なのよ。
Come to Brazil? I don't know. Maybe the one time I will is to visit my family.
すべてがお父様の思い通りの島。愛人を住まわせる隠し屋敷があっても何の不思議もない。
Eva's words spoke for what all of the siblings had come to think. For a while, the room returned to silence again, and everyone listened to the sound of the wind and rain. Was there a hidden mansion on this island, and had Kinzo's mistress been living in there for a long time? Everyone thought they were being too suspicious, and they hesitated for a long time without speaking. But everyone shared the common opinion. Kiryu, who had been listening to the whole time with her eyes closed, spoke to no one in particular.
そのお父様の愛人の噂はいつ頃から？
この島に引っ越してきた当初からだから、あれこれ30年くらい前だな。何しろ隠し屋敷の工事なんて、俺たちが島に来ちまったら無理だろう。
Right, Rudolph, Eva, and Kraus are somewhere in their 50s, so that makes sense.
人とか機材の出入りがあるもんな。
They were all teenagers when they moved in then.
すぐにバレちまうさ。だから可能だとしたら、俺たちが引っ越してくる以前、多分俺たちがまだ小田原に住んでいた頃に、この屋敷の工事と一緒に済ましていたんだろうよ。
お父様は家族生活と愛人との生活の2つを両立させようと最初から想定していたと考えるのが妥当なんでしょうね。
The big master plan for the mistress.
多分愛人との関係は小田原時代にまで遡るでしょうし。
だろう。親父殿が言うように、後ろ宮家復興の軍資金となった莫大な黄金が彼女によってもたらされたとするなら、小田原時代にはもう信仰があったと見るべきだろう。莫大な黄金を貸し付けられるだけの信頼関係だ。どれほどの古い縁か想像もつかぬね。
Probably since he was young, I guess.
おそらくお父様が事業で成功する上で何か貴重な助言をしてくれたのでしょう。それに恩を感じ、その人物が黄金を与えてくれたというような言い方をしたと考えるのが自然です。そうと考えれば、その後も信仰があったのは当然でしょう。それはおそらく愛人というただれた関係ではなく、後宮家の危機を救った恩人としてに違いありません。
夏樹さんの言うのも一理あるかもわからんな。
It's not quite an impossibility,
だが
so...
仮にそうでも隠し屋敷を作って住まわせるってのは
I'm just more inclined to believe in the mistress story, actually.
恩だけでは計れん感情があったんとちゃうか。
I mean, I would like to get a house if I offered gold.
第一、その隠し屋敷は
It means I own a house.
兄貴はこの島をリゾート開発する気なんだろう。その際にひょっこり見つかるかもしれねえぜ。案外そこに黄金もあったりするかもね。
It's time to start fighting over the gold.
お前は六軒島を宝島か何かだとでも思っているのかね。
とぼけないでよ。兄さんがリゾート開発と称して島の全域調査を計上しようとしてたのを知ってるのよ。例のトラブルのごたごたでできなくなっちゃったそうだけどね。
なんだか知らんが誤解だな。島の調査はリゾート化の第一段階として極めて当然のことだ。
Kraus tried to play dumb, but it was plainly obvious to his siblings who knew him so well. Kraus was definitely sure of the existence of a hidden mansion. And under the pretense of opening a resort, he had been closely investigating the island, searching for a clue as to the location of the hidden gold. He couldn't tell whether that conviction was just him overthinking things or whether it was based on some physical proof. Still, if Kraus, with all his guile, was sure, That was enough proof for the other siblings to be sure too.
森に魔女が住んでるっちゅうのはそのまんまおとぎ話やが、森の中に誰も知らない屋敷があって金髪の姉ちゃんがひっそり隠れ住んどるっちゅうのも十分おとぎ話やな。
そうね。シチュエーションだけだったらまるで童話か何かみたいね。ローザ、そういうの好きでしょ。
Oh my god, are you going to bring her into this?
まあね。
この島に屋敷を建てた頃は親父殿の特に全盛期だ。金に物を言わせてどんな妄想も実現しただろう。森の中にひっそり佇む魔女の屋敷。親父の好きそうなシチュエーションだ。
だな。オカルトチックというか親父の趣味って気がするぜ。
Sounds like it. On this island on which Yoshinoya family had lived for 30 years now, a hidden mansion that no one knew about had quietly built to house a witch, about whom nothing was known except for what could be guessed from a portrait. Even this hastily thrown together theory might not be completely delusional, considering all of Kinzo's strange habits and his vast wealth.
お父さんがそういう夢を思い描いて隠し屋敷を建てることは不可能じゃないかもしれない。でも現実的な話、その隠し屋敷に愛する女性を不自由なく何十年にもわたって住まわせることなんて可能なのかしら。
I guess.
さあ。
But
愛さえあれば可能なんじゃない？
愛する女性が健やかに過ごせるような設備を？それもお父さんなりのね。それはたとえ規模が小さかったとしても趣向を凝らした快適な邸宅に違いない。
That's likely. It probably means she needs water, food, and shit.
そしてそれを維持するには電気、
there we go.
ガス、水道、あるいは身の回りの世話に人間も必要かもしれない。食事の世話だって大変でしょうね。衣服や化粧品、日用品。女の身の回りは簡単じゃないわ。それだけのものを家人にも使用人にも悟らせずに維持することって可能なのかしら。
Maybe the servants knew, like the ones with the eagle.
そこまで言われると確かに弱いな。だがそれでも親父ならやってのけるかもしれんという気持ちは残る。何しろあの親父だからな。
そうね。あのお父様だものね。
お父様はやり遂げることは何があってもやり遂げます。常人には難しいから無理だろうという理由はお父様に関してだけは当てはまらないでしょ
う。When Kinzo does something, it just works.
親父殿に関してだけは見くびらん方がいい。親父の狂気は常人の思考では理解にも及ばん。
I wouldn't put it past that, Kinzo. As long as you stick to this phrase, a considerable amount of credibility can dwell in any absurd story. However, that didn't cause the importance of what Kitty had said to waver. This was different from stealthily raising a kitten in a cardboard box and keeping it a secret from your parents. Taking care of a person in secret over a period of 30 years would be an incalculably massive task.
お父さんの黄金伝説は六軒島を取得する前からや。となると、その愛人との縁は30年以上ということになるな。
It do be like that sometimes.
ってことは今いくつなんや。下手をしたらわしらと同じかそれ以上の年齢とちゃうか。体にもボロが出る年頃のはずや。どんな屋敷か知らんが人目に触れんようなほとんど軟禁に近い生活はそう快適とは言えんやろな。
Yeah, that's also a point.
そうね。お父様が語るベアトリーチェについての話が正しいなら、その縁は30年以上。当時は魅惑的な若い女性だったかもしれないけど、今は私たちと同格のタフな食えない女と考えるのが妥当でしょうね。
I mean, you still look good.
手紙の内容からもそれは容易に想像できるわ。
But that's anime for you.
お前が言うか。
Don't this, you are the wrinkliest of us all. Kraus laughed as his notice applied to him. Of course, Eva was offended, but he didn't strike back.
よせよ兄貴。そして俺たちの想像が本当なら、親父の遺産問題に彼女は胸を張って参加したいはずなんだ。何しろおふくろと違い相思相愛だった可能性が高いからな。本人には愛人の自覚と同時に正妻としての誇りもあるかもしれない。
Yeah, that's something I can imagine. If it's the Beatrice we're talking about.
ああ、すまん。だが親父とおふくろが親戚の長老たちによる政略結婚だったことは誰もが知ってる。
Like most of your marriages, yeah.
だからこそ親父に愛人がいてもおかしくないと確信できるわけだがな。
The family sank after the Great Kanto earthquake, and father was set up as the Oshinomiya family head against his will. However, in the beginning, the elder relatives treated Kinzo like a dummy and influenced him powerfully, almost like he was a puppet. He wasn't permitted to decide anything by himself, not even his marriage partner. Ever since he met that golden witch Beatrice in those distant days, Kinzo's legend of the gold was quickly embellished into something dramatic. In other words, it could mean that Kinzo really did find a woman he loved. If she also knew the whole story, even if they weren't marriage partners, it wouldn't have been odd for her to consider herself his true wife inside her heart. And now, the person registered as his true wife was already dead.
となると、財産権どころか家督争いにも食い込む気満々ってことになるで。
I mean, he's probably dead.
この手紙の趣旨が少しだけ見えてきたね。碑文の謎を解く者に家督を。そういう意味か。
仮にその愛人が後宮家に序列を得ていたとしても、その序列はお父様の血を直接引かない以上子供に劣る。つまり序列はローザより一つ下ね。とても家督争いに加われるようなレベルじゃないわ。
そういうことか。魔女の碑文を解けば序列に関係なく家督が告げる。つまり全く可能性のないベアトリーチェにとって最も有利な条件ってわけだ。
The revival of the Tsurushirimiya family was made possible by the gold Beatrice had bestowed. That was quite a distinguishing service she had provided. She had built that wealth together with Kinzo, so it was natural that she would think of herself as the one who should inherit it. It would also be natural for her to despise the thought of giving it up to the children of the wife Kinzo never loved. I mean,
仮に愛人が実在したとしても、当主継承権を争うなど、身の程をわきまえぬ暴挙です。なんという身の程知らず。
Natsu turned red, her fists quivering. Natsu about to throw fists. She also had also come into the Tsurushirimiya register due to complicated circumstances. Those who knew that understood more or less why she was so angry for the sake of Kinzo's dead wife.
まあ、その暴挙のおかげで私たちにも公平にチャンスがあるわけなんだけどね
え。Eva about to run out of the room like, time to find gold!
それにお父様はこの暴挙を黙認されている。
I don't think they realize that if she's his lover, then she probably has like all the dirt of the family. Yeah, she probably does. Like, literally everything. Including the fact that he was kind of a shitty dad.
後宮家を継ぐのは愛人ベアトリーチェか、愛はなくとも血を受け継ぐ私たちか、それを争わせて確かめたいというのでしょうね。
Ega, sorry, not Ega. As Eva giggled roguishly, Klaus shrugged his shoulders and looked away.
でもその条件を向こうが出してきたということは、向こうは十分な勝算があるということじゃないのかしら。
それもそうや。第一、 ベアトリーチェはあの手紙の文面通りならお父さんの顧問錬金術師、つまり黄金の管理者や。その隠し場所を知っていても何の不思議もないやないか。こらひどい話やで。答えを知っている謎々を出してきたも同じや。これでシャーシャーと現れて、これが答えや、家督はいただきやで、なんわしらすべてかっぱらわれちまうわ。
That was suck, huh?
そうね。謎々の出題者は常に正解を知っているものよ。これは私たちから全てを奪うために作られた罠の可能性が高いわ。
そこまで考えると、そもそも彼女が本当に黄金を持っているかどうかは怪しいと思わんかね。
Him trying to deflect so hard.
なぜ我々にその存在を教える。黙って着服すればよいもの。
確かにおかしな話だな。
That certainly was the case. If the Epitath showed the way to the hidden gold, why would she challenge them to try and solve it? If they actually did solve it, wouldn't the gold all be stolen from her? Could it be that this person was trying to stir the siblings up so they'd solve the Epitath, then planned to steal it away the last second? It was an extremely logical possibility.
いいえ、チェス盤をひっくり返して考えれば、黄金を実際に持っている可能性は低くないかもしれない。
どうしてそんなことが断言できるのよ。
待て姉貴。キリエ、続きを話してくれ。どうしてそう思うんだ。
だって、
It's time to spin the chessboard. Let's go!
謎々の答えを教えられたくらいで、本気で後ろ宮家の家督を明け渡す気？謎々の答えに感服して降参を？
そらまあ、それもそうやな。謎々の答えを教えられたくらいでわしらがあっさり降参して家督をはいどうぞと渡すかっちゅうたら、そら甘い話やな。
当然です。後ろ宮家の家督をそんな程度のことで譲ることがあるわけがない。
そういうことよ。いくらベアトリーチェが一方的にこんなゲームを提案しても、そして見事その答えを示してみせたとしても、私たちは家督を素直に譲るわけもない。つまり私たちがこのゲームに対等な条件で挑まなくてはならないという、このゲームは成立しないのよ。
That's true. That's kinda unfair.
そうだな。負けた時、家督を譲ることに強制力を持たせなきゃこのゲームは成立しない。
その強制力というのはどういう意味だね。
Money, I guess.
我々を鎖で縛って家督を譲るよう脅迫でもしようというのかね。
なるほどね。わかったわ。私たちが喜んで家督を放棄したくなるようにすればいいわけね。なるほど。ならば確かにベアトリーチェは10トンの黄金を持っていなければならない。
そうか。わしにもつまり取引っちゅうわけやな。
I suppose.
どういう意味ですか？取引？何を？
後ろ宮家の家督と隠し黄金をよ。
Okay.
ベアトリーチェはきっと10トンの
Sounds
黄金
like
の
a
所在を
valid
明か
trade.
し、それで後ろ宮家の家督を買収するつもりなのよ。
バカバカしい。栄光ある後ろ宮家の家督をお金でやり取りしようというのですか？
I mean, the siblings would accept.
冒涜です。後ろ宮家への冒涜です。
怒らずに聞いて。その栄光ある後ろ宮家には今どの程度の財産があるの？私たちはそんなにも裕福なの？
裕福の定義とは財産で決まるのではありません。心の持ちようで決まります。私たちの財産状況が一体何の？
Everybody's gonna cut her off. Klaus interrupted Nazi as he started to go on and on emotionally. In this situation, the more she went on like that, the worse it would actually sound.
私はともかくお前たちの状況は芳しくないと聞いているよ。
あらそう。兄さんの財政状況だって相当に芳しくないと聞いているわよ。次々担保に入れて新しい博打の掛け金にして負けを認めないために次々新しい博打に手を出して内情の話をしたらこの中で兄さんほど火の車の人間は存在しないわ。
Oh boy, the money talk starts
損失を
again.
出してんのよ兄さんは。才能ないのよ。
誰の才能がないというのですか。言うにこと書き、火の車とは。
Oh no, the girls are going to start fighting! Natsu became indignant once more, but Kraus raised his hand again and interrupted her.
多少の誤解があるようだ。ビジネスは定価で判断できるものではない。私のような長期的視野でのビジネスともなると、時に短い単位期間では一見大きな損失を出しているようにも見えるものだ。
Oh god, he literally sounds like an NFT, bro. Jesus.
兄貴、
He would get in that market if he lived in modern day.
裏は取れてるんです。
Oh boy. And then Kraus would wonder why Kinzo why Kinzo doesn't approve of him.
今は見栄を張ってる場合じゃない。つまりキリエはこう言いたいのさ。俺たちは全員が全員金に困ってる。そしてベアトリーチェは10トンの黄金を持っている。
ベアトリーチェは自分だけがありかを知る10トンの黄金で私たちに家督を売らせるつもりなのよ。10トンの黄金の価値はどのくらい？ざっと見積もって20億？
2 billion yen.
いえ、200億ね。
That's a lot of
これだけを
money.
積まれたら私たちは歓喜して彼女を次期当主に認めるわ。
Just to make a new family, I guess. The scene returned to silence. In fact, the rain and wind felt even noisier now. It was probably the sound of the windstorm racing through the insides of their minds.
冗談じゃないわよ。多少お金を積まれたくらいでどこの馬の骨とも知れない女に家督を譲るなんて。
アホ抜かせ。もともとお前に家督なんぞいかんやないか。
Oh no.
わしらは何も失わずに金だけをもらえる話やで。
Oh, that's gonna hit her at the sore spot,
そ
huh?
ら損得感情は必要やろが、聞くに値する話や。
They knew that Kraus had eaten up much of the Ushinomiya family assets. So it was the dregs that remained of that inheritance versus the cost of being accepted as the head that Beatrice would pay. It was a shame, but honestly the former was less enticing than the latter.
まあ4等分とはならねえだろうな。次期当主を降りることになる兄貴に取り分が多くなるのはやむを得ねえだろうよ。羨ましい話だぜ。
Oh.
あなた、金額の問題じゃないでしょ。不甲斐ない弟たちはお金で後宮家の栄光を売り払うつもりなのですよ。ここで長男の威厳を示さずして何とするのです。
Because he doesn't have any.
夏希、しばらく黙っていなさい。
Oh, Jesus.
あな
たこりゃクラッとくる話だぜ。
Natsu has to deal with this shit.
俺たちは兄貴から2億半ずつ引っ張ろうと思ってた。もし魔女様が俺たちに10トンのうちの1割も弾んでくれたなら、
20億ね。
ああ。
Natsu, my beloved. Yes, I agree. She doesn't deserve She deserves a better husband than Kraus.
俺たちは当初の見積もりの10倍も弾まれちまうこと。
She's the only level-headed woman in the house when the other siblings aren't
そん
around.
だけあれば俺たちは十分だぜ。どうせ後ろ宮なんて名前に未練はねえんだ。喜んで売っ払ってやら。
10トンすべてを提供してくれるかはさすがに川山用だとしても、なるほど。私たちにとって魅力的な話になるわね。私たちはベアトリーチェなどというよそ者を弾き出すために兄弟同盟を組もうとしていた。しかし彼女の目論みがこうならば、私たち兄弟の団結はバラバラにされるわ。ええ、今こそはっきり断言できる。 ベアトリーチェの手紙の目的は私たちの結束をかき乱すことなのよ。
That's true. That's also another topic. If the three younger siblings who never had anything to do with the inheritance were paid enough money to satisfy them, they would happily accept Beatrice as the next head. A moat had been dug all around Kraus. In that case, a negotiation would be one-on-one between her and Kraus. He tried to look strong, but Kraus' financial and political situation was extremely weak. He might bluff in front of his siblings, but on the inside he was considering entering negotiations depending on the sum of the money involved. In order to bury his losses, Kraus had taken advantage of the fact that Kinzo had shut himself in his room and had embezzled Kinzo's personal assets. Therefore, when Kinzo died and the inheritance was disturbed, Kraus' situation would probably be investigated. But if he gave up his seat as the head to Beatrice, she would also receive rights to the assets, and as a result, the distribution of the inheritance to the siblings would not occur. In other words, Kraus' embezzlements might not have to be made known to the other siblings. Of course, the siblings were frightened of Kinzo, but it was doubtful whether they still actually respected him as a father. By this time, they each had their own families, their own wealth, and their own lives. If they were paid enough money in exchange for Rokenjima, the wreckage of Kinzo's dreams, there was a significant likelihood that they'd relinquish the Ushiramiya family name. In other words, Beatrice's victory was already guaranteed in this game. Not as the winner of Beatrice's game, but as the winner of Kinzo's game. Kinzo once ordered that the epitaph be put on display, and until today no one had solved it. So Beatrice solved it. In other words, this is less of a game and more like a Beatrice declaration of victory. However, Kiria still thought there might be a catch. If this was a declaration of victory, Beatrice would only have had to display the gold openly and state her intent to buy the inheritance. And yet she had gone to all this trouble telling the siblings to try and solve the epitaph. Why did you set up this new game where they agreed to hand over all of the gold and the inheritance to the epitaph solver? Kiria tried spinning the chessboard around several times. She searched for the sort of ideal strategy Beatrice might be after, something that could lead to this kind of thinking. In the end, she reached a single conclusion.
おごりなのかしら、あるいは遊び。
She's playing with us?
魔女は気分を解いてみろと私たちに挑戦状を送ったわ。どうせ解けないだろうと高をくくってるでしょうけどね。でも何万分の1かの確率で私たちが解いてしまう可能性もあるはず。何しろここにはお父さんの血を引く子供が4人もいるのよ。出題者の血縁者が4人も揃い、財産を奪われまいと死に物狂いで知恵を出し合ったなら、偶然にも謎が解けてしまうこともあるかもしれない。
Are we finally gonna solve the riddle? Let's go! The reason the witch had superior position in negotiations compared to the siblings was that she only knew the location of the hidden gold. But if that hiding place was exposed to someone other than her, the witch's advantage would crumble.
つまり、魔女の手紙に書かれている挑発文は、ベアトリーチェにとってリスクにしかならないのよ。確かに、兄弟の連帯を分断するという効果はあったけれど、それを狙うためだけに、わずかとはいえこのようなリスクを？私は不用心だと思う。でもね、ある種の感情を念頭に置いたとき、このリスクは理解可能になるのよ。
I guess, seeing how Beatrice's personality is like, she could be playing.
おごりだというの？ええ、そうよ。圧倒的な優位に立つと、人はおごるわ。
Yeah.
すると敗者に対し、その優位性をひけらかすために、微小なリスクをわざと背負うことがある。適度なリスクは、勝利の喜びを引き立たせるスパイスだもの。リスクなき勝利ほど退屈なものはない。わかるわ。私もそういうのよくわかるわ。ベアトリーチェの手紙の真意をもっともらしくいろいろと解釈してみたけれど、実はこれが真実かもしれない。あの手紙の裏に潜む感情はおごりなのよ。おごり。難解な碑文がお前たちに解けるものかと 私たちを見下して威張り散らしたいのよ。
Oh, Eva's gonna take this very
案外
personally.
ひょっとすると碑文はお父さんじゃなく彼女が作ったのかもしれないわね。
上等じゃないの。
Eva is like, and I took that personally.
碑文の謎が解けるかですって。
Oh, she's back.
もしも解いたなら私を当主にしてくれるのね。解いてやる。魔女の挑戦を受けてやるわ。他の間抜けな兄弟たちに解けるものか。私一人が解いて、私こそが後ろ宮家を引き継ぐにふさわしいということを証明してやるわ。
その挑戦乗ったわ。
I knew she'd take it personally.
謎を解いてやる。
Let's go! And I think I'm gonna end it for today. Let me see. The berserk button has been pushed. Indeed. Yeah, I agree. Eva took this super personally. Okay, that's enough for today. There we go. Alright. I'm almost like at 4 hours, so I think that's a good time to stop. This chapter felt mostly like a retread of the first. But now with Eva going to solve the epitaph, I'm very excited how it's going to turn out. And I'm curious to see how Ronovoe has an effect on the story. And how he'll affect the game, if there will be new mechanics thanks to him and such. And I'm curious to find out more about that one scene with little Beatrice and her master. I really want to know more about that. Like, more Beatrice backstory is always good stuff for me. But, okay everybody. This will be it for tonight. And I already posted the schedule online on Twitter, what my next streams will be. I will stream on Tuesday and Thursday again. Tuesday I'll be streaming some fighting games. And Thursday will be art stream. If I feel fit enough, on Monday I might do a spontaneous stream on Monday of something random, as I am on Christmas break. But for now, for 2021, this was my last Umineko stream, and I'll probably resume sometime next year. Probably like on the first Thursday on December, I'll continue with chapter 3. But yeah, starting the 24th until next year, I'll probably be on vacation. Yep, I'll probably won't be streaming from the 24th until like the first week of January. But like I said, Tuesday and Thursday there will be 2 more streams of for fighting games and for art. And if I feel good enough, maybe I'll do another stream on Monday or Wednesday. I'll let everybody know on time. So, actually, let me see if there's anybody to raid for tonight. Raid the channel. Nope, nobody is online. Everybody's already offline. The struggles of being a EU time zone person. Alright, then I'll be logging off for tonight. And see you guys on Tuesday. If you guys don't catch me next week, then I'm wishing everybody a nice holiday and a nice vacation. Sleep well. And Ronin Kanmuri, thank you for the follow. Everybody, good night. Thanks for coming. Bye bye.